following is a GNC podcast production. Welcome to Geek Addicts, a pop culture podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Geek Addicts, the spin-off series of GNC podcast where we talk about all things that me and Alex can't normally talk about on our show. I'm Bill. This is Matt. How you doing, Matt?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I like how I just make up the intros on the spot now. I'm not even trying to have a consistent one.
Well, you have a pre-recorded one that you play at the beginning every time, so it's not super important.
I mean, that's temporary. That's until I think of something better.
It's solid, honestly, but,
Other than the fact that my voice cracks, like when I say welcome to Geek Addicts.
Well, that kind of thing happens to me all the time, so
yeah.
No judgment here.
I was trying to be all clean and fine, and it came out cracked, and I didn't bother to re-record it. So I was like, whatever.
Yeah. Well, everyone has their own issues with the way that they record their own voices.
Yeah.
My voice sounds higher pitched than I feel like it does when I hear it over a recording, and that bothers me. But, it is what it is. Everyone's got their own things that they don't like about their own voices.
Yeah. See, my voice in recordings always sounds nice and clear because I could just turn myself up rather than in real life where people are always like, speak up, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I get that. The struggles of an introvert.
That and having an incredibly low voice.
Yeah.
But this week didn't want to end.
Yeah, tell me about it. Ugh.
My boss left around noon today, so literally after he left at 10 o'clock actually. The second he left, literally nothing happened the rest of the day.
The boss is away, so the workers will play.
Pretty much we just fucked off the whole day. We quote unquote worked. I did the bare minimum of work at my desk the rest of the day. I just had no motivation at all to be there.
Oh, jeez.
Got 2 more weeks, then I'm finally on vacation. My first vacation in 2 years. So
hell yeah, dude. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna probably sleep through most of it. So
yeah. I assume you're gonna be coming down to town for Christmas alone. Are you planning on staying for a little bit, or you just going right back after Christmas?
I don't know yet. It's tough because Alex has the cat, so it's she doesn't like to stay more than a day at most.
I get that. Why do you just carpool or?
Yeah, usually just to save on gas because it's a long trip to take 2 cars.
Yeah, and then at that point, you guys live right across the street, right?
Yeah, it's kind of it would be just ridiculous if we took 2 cars.
Yeah, it's kind of pointless at that.
I might try to come down at another time during the week just because I'll have 10 days off in a row. I think that excuse me, that week.
Yeah.
So it should be. I'll have to see. This year's just been tough because I've been dealing with all the house stuff and then work and just getting used to being an adult, I guess you could say.
No, of course. I get it, man.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it'd be cool to hang out. It's been a bit.
I'm trying. That's the one upside to having the podcast. At least we can keep talking and not go months without talking and then be like, yo, what's up?
Yeah. Well, the Discord's been helpful with that for a while too, but the podcast is definitely nice because then we little peek behind the veil, we end up shooting the shit for 2 hours after the recording every time too. So
yeah. That happens with all my shows other than GNC. GNC, the second it's over, Alex is like, okay, bye, and just immediately disappears.
She's got One Piece to watch.
One Piece. She's watching Attack on Titan right now. That's her.
Oh, nice.
Big one. She's also painting her house right now, so that's her big project.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Thrak, though, when we do 3DO, we usually shoot the shit for a couple hours after every time, just talking about whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. We'll have to do a big company-wide crossover at some point. Have everyone in one show.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I don't know what we'd do for a topic that would fit all of us, but I'm sure we'll figure something out.
Yeah, that would be the thing. I'm sure I know when we talk about Fable, I'll have Thrak on because he's a big Fable guy as well.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. That's one of my favorite games from when I was a kid.
That might actually be what I do during the vacation. I might play some Fable.
Fable 2?
Yeah.
Nice.
Boot that up and give it a shot. I've been meaning to play it. I just haven't had time. I barely have time to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just barely have time to do anything now. Like this week, like I haven't made any progress on Rurouni Kenshin because I've been reading Pokemon Adventures and then so much other stuff I've been trying to keep up with.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there, man. I barely have time to play anything or reading is just about the only thing I do have time for, and that's just because it's something I can just open, read a page, and then close. Can't do that with JRPGs.
Yep. I mean, I have a couple mangas I got to catch up on. Like the new Chainsaw Man volume just came out, so I got to read that.
Nice.
Sakamoto Days, the new one just came out for that. Mm-hmm. The new Kaguya-sama came up, but I'm not there yet, so I'll get to that eventually.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Kenshin, by the way, and you mentioned it a minute ago, I did find that first Vizbig, so I started reading that too.
Nice. I gotta get into reading that as well. I got so many. Like, it's funny. There's a running joke at Barnes and Noble I've recently noticed where like they don't give a shit about release dates at all.
Oh yeah.
Oh, like they always like Chainsaw Man. I wish I didn't pre-order it at the time because like that was out like 2 weeks early, just sitting on the shelves, and I was like, really?
That's awesome.
I popped in there today because I was buying Alex's Christmas gift. I won't say what it is, just in case she does listen to this. Who knows? But I was in there and I.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say it's coming out the day after Christmas, so even if it does.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think of. All right, in that case, then I went there to go pick up the new One Piece 3-in-1 for her because.
Oh, nice.
Which is hilarious because that also wasn't supposed to be out yet, but that's for another story. But I was.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all basically. I was just going into Barnes and Noble because I just like to see what's going on. That and it's a calming environment. But I saw that on the shelf, and then another series she's reading currently called Die Dark. That also had a new volume, which also wasn't supposed to be out yet.
Oh, geez.
But then I was browsing the shelves and I saw Yashahime Volume 4 was out, which isn't supposed to be out yet, and the new Hitomi-chan. So I grabbed both of those for my personal collection, and then those books for Alex for Christmas.
There you go.
So I bought 4 books that weren't supposed to be out until next week, but Barnes and Noble don't care. They're getting their money.
Yeah, for real. That's probably why they don't bother waiting. He's just like, nah, people will buy it, whatever.
There's some wacky manga out there now, though, just like browsing the shelves.
I believe it. It's been such a long time since I've gone into a bookstore and like actually seen a manga set. Well, first of all, it's been a long time since I've been at a bookstore, period. But like I remember when Borders was up in the mall and they had like one little section of the shelf. Like it was a decent amount of manga, but like it definitely wasn't like what it is now.
It's pretty crazy how much manga's blown up compared to American comics recently. I mean, ironically, even Borders like had like the tiniest little comic section back in the day. But yeah, like manga is like there's a Barnes and Noble near us that's like a double floored one. It has an entire like wall that's nothing but manga.
That's crazy. Even Newbury Comics, like it seems like they have way more manga than like regular comics.
Yeah, it's overtaking American comics like very quickly, which is very interesting in like when you think about it. Because like I think I was reading about it, and someone pointed out that theoretically you're getting American comics, you're getting maybe like 12 pages for like $5 most of the time. That you're finishing probably like a minute, and compared to like say like an average like single like volume of manga, which you're paying $12 at most, and that's like literally an entire book basically content. It's just a better deal overall.
Yeah, for real.
Also, the barrier of entry is so much. Sorry, I'm still recovering from a cold. If anyone's wondering, but the barrier for entry into manga is so much easier than American comics because like trying to get into DC or Marvel, like forget it. It's not easy.
No, definitely not.
Yeah,
I've tried a few times and it just, especially if you're used to manga already, like it's so hard to find a place to start with American comics because there's so many different iterations. Like even if you're just like say just Spider-Man alone, like if you're trying to read Spider-Man, it's so hard to figure out where to start. Like there's so many different like storylines, different versions of Spider. Like it's insane.
I still remember like there's our buddy the car. I still remember trying to like when I was first getting into comics, like you'd go into like Newbury, you just see all these like trade like collector's editions, and you're always like, I don't even know where to start. So like you always go for like the safest option, like you grab like Batman or something. Like I think my first one I bought was like the Killing Joke because it was on sale and it was like this big collector's edition like version. And then going from there, it was like I just kind of grabbed things here or there. It's easier to like recommend certain runs to people as opposed to like entire storylines because like my god, it is not easy. And so many of those classic runs are out of print now, so it's even harder.
Yeah, no kidding. The Killing Joke is like the movie and the comic the same, or is there differences?
So the movie is 1-to-1 the same, with the exception of the early Batgirl portion that's completely pointless to the film.
Okay, basically, I was curious because I was interested in getting the Killing Joke comics just because I knew it's kind of just like the one little book or whatever, and that's the whole thing. But
I'd recommend that one heavily just because that story is it's pretty short, not super long, and the art is phenomenal.
I liked the movie a lot when it came out.
So the book basically is everything from when Barbara gets shot onward, basically.
Yeah, that shit was dark, man. Especially the way that it ended. Like I know we're way past the topic, which we haven't even started yet, but the way that movie ended, where like Batman and Joker just sharing a laugh after everything that happened, like that was like the darkest moment to me. It's just like everything that just happened throughout this whole movie, and now you're just sharing a chuck with each other. Like,
see, the book makes it even better because they start strangling each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the book is a lot darker. Brian Bolin, the artist, like he's mostly known as a cover artist. He doesn't do a lot of internal pages. That's like one of the few internals he's actually done. The art is freaking amazing. Like it is. I highly recommend picking up The Killing Joke. The writing's pretty good. You really read it for the art. That and the whole like, it's a Joker origin story, but the Joker is an unreliable narrator. So is he really telling the truth, kind of thing?
Yeah, that's always fun.
The animated movie was pretty good. That early, the first part with all the Batgirl backstory stuff is completely unnecessary and was honestly just added for padding.
Yeah, when I watched the movie the first time, like I got like maybe 20-30 minutes into it, and I turned to my buddy who I was watching it with and I said, did we get the wrong movie? Because we hadn't seen hide nor hair of the Joker at any point. Is this whole thing with this random gangster? Like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, that was entirely added just because when they made that movie, a lot of people pointed out like the Killing Joke's pretty short. Like, how are they going to make a full length movie out of that?
Yeah,
and they added a whole bunch of backstory for Batgirl, and then Bruce Timm had to do his weird headcanon of Batman and Barbara as a thing, and no, thank you.
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
Yeah, and then there's a reason why like that film has such a weird polarizing reception.
I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. It's just that beginning part was definitely threw me off the first time I watched it.
The general consensus is the actual Killing Joke part of it is phenomenal because Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill reprising their roles and basically nailing it, especially because Mark Hamill was quote unquote retired at that point from the role.
Yeah, it had been for a bit at that point, I think, right?
His last official thing he did, I believe, was Arkham City. And then I think he's
a game.
Yeah, that was the second of the Batman games.
Okay.
Although he did come back for the fourth one, so he may change his mind all the time.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to completely retire from something like that. I mean,
if
I was him, I'd come back as often as possible.
I don't think he ever will again, just because Kevin Conroy passed away, and I'm pretty sure the only reason he did most of them was because he wanted to. It was mostly just because Kevin was also doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were like the perfect duo, like those two characters.
They really were. Like that's Batman and the Joker to me. Like as much as I love the first Tim Burton movie with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, and then the Dark Knight versions were also good. But I don't know that pair in the animated series. That's Batman and the Joker to me.
Kevin Conroy is like the definitive Joker. I mean, the definitive Batman in most people's eyes, and then Mark Hamill. Enough said.
Yeah.
I don't think the only
stood up to him animated.
The only two that come close to me are, did you ever see the Under the Red Hood film?
I have it on DVD, but I haven't seen it yet.
So that one has Bruce Greenwood as Batman, and he does a very good job. And then it has John DiMaggio as the Joker, which is
really,
it doesn't sound like it would be good, but he does a phenomenal job. Like, it is one of the most surprisingly good Jokers out there.
Bender is the Joker, huh?
Yeah, he does surprisingly good. Like,
it's bizarre, but I believe it.
Yeah. But before we completely just turn this into a comic book discussion, we should probably transition into our topic for this episode.
Yeah, we'll save that for another episode. Maybe we'll do a Batman episode at some point.
Batman, basically, we could just talk about those DC animated films. Honestly, there's so many of them.
I know, and they're all great. At least all the ones I've seen.
There's some stinkers, but that bounds to happen with anything. But
yeah,
for our topic for this episode, in case you had seen the previous GNC that came out, we're actually continuing our holiday specials, and we're gonna continue that over onto Geek Addicts and talk about just memories from the holiday season.
Yeah. So, what was I know you guys probably talked about a lot of these on the GNC episode, but like, what was your definitive Christmas movie as a kid?
Oh, Christmas Vacation.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh, you've never seen Christmas Vacation, the Chevy Chase film?
It's possible. I just there was a lot of random Christmas movies, especially when I was over at my aunt's house. There would always be a bunch of random Christmas movies and stuff. But
that's an absolute classic. Like, it's that it's the one with like Cousin Eddie. He's the shitter's full like meme.
No, I don't know. I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, you gotta check that one out. It's basically the story of like so it's actually part of the Vacation film series. It's the most famous one because it's the Christmas one, but it's ironically the one where they don't go on vacation. And it's basically a dad trying his best to like have the perfect Christmas, and like everything just goes wrong the entire time. Like,
the
crazy in-laws show up, like the family's just dysfunctional in every way. Police show up at one point. Like, the full-on SWAT team shows up at one point.
Really?
Oh yeah, there's like a ton of like great moments. Like, one of my favorite moments is like the famous they're going out to get their Christmas tree, and they go out in like the forest, and they find the tree, and it's like this perfect tree, like that's like magical. And then like it cuts to like the son basically being like, "Dad, did you bring a saw?" And then it just cuts in on Chevy Chase's face, and he's like, eyes just get wide. And then the next scene, you see this massive tree on top of the station wagon with the roots still hanging off in the dirt, just flying off the back. Like, there's That's awesome. One. There's a great scene where like he's about to cut the stump, like the roots and stump off of the thing, and he comes out with a chainsaw and a Jason mask. There's a whole bunch of them. Like, one of my favorite, one of the most memorable scenes is like he's at work, like leaving, and all the people are leaving, and he's just like, "Merry Christmas, kiss my ass, kiss your ass, kiss his ass, Happy Hanukkah." It's just all the executives leaving the building at the time.
Jeez,
it's a great film. There's so many fucking moments in that.
Where do you know if there's anywhere I can stream it? Because we tend to watch a lot of holiday movies leading up to Christmas.
So this one's a little tough just because it tends to jump around from streaming service to streaming service. Last I checked, I'm pretty sure I had it downloaded on Amazon Prime, maybe. Let me see here. So Christmas Vacation streaming now. So it's giving me a lot of options where it says subscription needed. So I don't know
Okay.
exactly what that means. It says Max, so maybe Max has it now.
Oh, okay. Well, that I have Max, so that works out.
I have to check because it said subscription needed.
Well, I have a subscription, so
I'm not sure if they've added new ones to Max though. I don't understand how Max works sometimes.
um,
Oh, there it is. Let's see. Oh yeah, yep, it's on Max.
oh, okay, cool. Well,
So,
we'll have to maybe we'll watch that one over the weekend.
yeah, it's definitely worth it. I mean, worst comes to worst, it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
You probably just have to rent it or something.
I gotcha. Well, if it's on Max, then I'm good to go.
Hmm.
My like definitive Christmas movie growing up was Jack Frost. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
Oh, the one with Michael Keaton?
Yeah, Michael Keaton and when he turns into a snowman.
Yeah, some of the greatest early CGI stop motion.
Oh yeah,
it
I
hasn't
love that
aged
movie.
well, but it's
I still think it's a nice movie though. It's one of those ones that just like got me as a kid. Like me and my mom used to watch it together all the time, especially before my siblings were born. So it was kind of like our Christmas movie, and it's been a little bit since I've seen it at this point, but like I watched it every year growing up, leading up to Christmas, probably multiple times a year actually. I mean, then there's obviously the go-tos like Home Alone and
it's funny. Alex last night on the when we were recording GNC literally was like, I don't think I've ever seen Home Alone. I'm like, you've seen it, you just don't remember it.
yeah, there's no way a kid in our generation hasn't seen Home Alone or Home Alone 2.
Yeah, I remember 3 for some reason too, just because the RC car. But the less said about 3, the better.
The less said about any of them after Macaulay Culkin was out of the picture is, yeah, it's best to just leave it at that.
So, did you ever another movie I was thinking about? Did you ever see Christmas with the Cranks?
I don't think so. I've heard of it, but I don't know. I'm not
We
sure.
We were talking about it last night, and I was commenting how like the whole plot of the film is essentially it's like a family. The daughter is like grown up and goes away to school, so they decide they're not going to do Christmas this year. They're going to just like go on vacation instead. And then the town it like shames them and like harasses them until the daughter comes back and is like, "Wait, I'm actually coming home." And it's like, surprise, now we have to like scramble and set the thing up last minute.
Jeez.
But I always commented, I'm like, were they in the wrong? Like, I think it was perfectly fine their reasoning, like just going on vacation rather than going through all the hassle. But
Yeah,
the movie's message is no, they're assholes for not doing Christmas. So
it's fair.
I don't know. I always thought they were perfectly in the right.
I got
It's a Tim Allen movie too, which is kind of funny.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's like the other Tim Allen Christmas movie.
Oh yeah, because he was Santa Claus, wasn't he?
The Santa Claus.
Yeah,
The first 2 are good.
Yeah, wasn't there like 4 of them now?
So there's 3 films and there's a TV series.
Yeah, I forgot about the new series. My wife and the kids were watching that last year.
Me and Alex were like watching just shitty Christmas movies, and we started watching that, and Alex did not like it from 2 episodes in. So, but I also don't think Alex likes Tim Allen very much. So,
No,
I don't know. She just did not vibe with that series. I don't know if it was just the series or Tim Allen or not, because she liked Santa Claus too.
yeah, well, that one's a classic. And my wife's been watching a lot of like Lifetime Christmas movies. You know, like the garbage, like the
I know I've watched many.
Those that all follow the same storyline, just with different characters.
Alex said the same thing last night. I've seen many a Hallmark film.
Yeah,
my mom loves Hallmark films.
Yeah,
I mean, you get sucked into them, and then you have to see how they end, even though they all end the same way.
they do. They all end the same way. You know what's funny is there was I remember seeing a meme a while ago that said something like It was like you could tell a lot by what you know Tim Curry from originally. And the first thing that came to mind for me was Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
That's what I know Tim Curry from originally. I mean, there's also, the Wild Thornberries and
yeah. I'll do this with my hands or whatever.
It's too funny, man. Tim Curry is one of my favorite English actors.
He was almost the Joker. Going a little full circle there.
I could totally see it. Well, I mean, obviously he was Pennywise, so
apparently his Joker was too scary, and that's why they got Mark Hamill instead.
That's fair. I mean, Mark Hamill really nails it, though. But now we're talking about Batman again.
Going back to Christmas movies, do you remember the live-action Grinch movie?
Oh, the Jim Carrey one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that one on DVD. That's like one of my favorites.
I love that movie because not only do you have Jim Carrey as the Grinch, but you also got the little girl that played Cindy Lou, who is currently the lead singer for the hard rock band, The Pretty Reckless.
It's awesome. I knew she was in a band. I just didn't know what it was called.
Taylor Mom said she's like an adult now, and it's like really funny. She poses naked on half the covers, and it's like, yep, that's Cindy Lou Who right there.
Cindy Lou. That's too funny.
That movie is fascinating because it gives a fucking backstory to the Grinch. And it's like nobody asked for this, but they did it anyways.
Yeah, but it actually makes him like a sympathetic character. Like I totally get the Grinch. I saw a meme recently that said the Grinch never hated Christmas. He just hated people. And I totally get that one.
Yeah, I vibe with that.
For real. See, that's why people like the Grinch.
I'm trying to think some of the other classics. You know, one that I've never watched that like shocks people is I've never seen A Christmas Story.
Really?
Yeah, it never appealed to me for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, that's weird. Because that was always one of the ones that, like, whether we wanted to watch it or not, our parents always, because there was, I don't remember what channel it was, but there was a channel that played it for like 48 straight hours, like Christmas Eve and Christmas. So it was funny. Always on repeat at my house.
I wonder if my dad or mom just didn't like it or something, because we never saw it.
That's wild.
Or if we did, we were so young, I have no memory of it. Probably kind of like how Alex has no memory of Home Alone.
Yeah. Well, that'll just happen sometimes.
Yeah, I honestly remember the thing I remember more about Christmas Story is the Friends episode where Chandler's dressed as the pink bunny, but I don't even think that was a reference. I'm not even sure if that was a reference or not. So
I don't know. It sounds pretty Christmas Story to me.
It was a Halloween episode though. That's why I'm not sure.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
So we talk about like the go-to Christmas movie. Because I know there's a lot of people who do. Do you have a movie that you watch around Christmas every year, but isn't a Christmas movie?
I'm not going to say that. Well, no, Die Hard doesn't count. That is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, that's what most people say, at least.
I'm trying to think. There's probably a few that I watch every year. It's a good question. I've never actually thought about that.
It's something I've heard come up like a lot, especially in like, some podcasts and stuff that I listen to and things like that, YouTube and stuff. Like people will talk about movies that they watch for like during Christmas, but they aren't Christmas movies. Like there's a guy on a podcast I listen to who always watches The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek 2 on Christmas.
That's fair.
Well, one of the ones that we always do is the first two Harry Potter movies are Christmas movies in our house.
I'm trying to think about, honestly, I don't know if I have one or not. Because I think usually it's like I'll have the Christmas movies on and then I'll probably either have a book or something or be playing a game. Like usually around this time is when I'm in my Persona 4 Golden replay of the year.
Oh, okay. So instead of a non-Christmas movie, you have a non-Christmas game.
Well, there's a Christmas event in Persona 4 Golden.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's fair. That makes it about as Christmas as Harry Potter.
Yeah, honestly, I need to start my my yearly Persona 4 playthrough at some point.
I just need to start playing it, period. I never played it.
I mean, it's the greatest game. It's the greatest game ever made.
I mean, I hear a lot of things like that, but it's one of those things where I want to play it and I want to get started on it so I can kind of like get along with the hype train and everything, but I want to know that I'm going to have time to invest in it. And I just don't have that right now. So I don't want to start it and then forget what I was doing and come back and be lost and not invested in the story. You know what I mean? Like I want to actually give it the time it deserves.
Actually thinking about that, this isn't really a movie or something, but I one thing I remember from Christmas all the time was around this time of year I'd always do. So I was a big RuneScape. Well, I still am a big RuneScape player, but I was a huge RuneScape player as a kid, and I always remember like RuneScape would have like the Christmas events that they do every year.
Oh yeah,
and I remember doing those every year would be a constant thing, like because you'd always get like the coolest items, like candy canes that you could just carry around with your avatar, or different like Santa costumes and stuff like that. Just like fun,
cool,
stupid shit that because they're like once you can only get them once, like you kind of could use them as a way of like showing how old you were in the game. Showcasing your Santa outfit or something.
Jeez.
Those are always fun.
Yeah, I played a couple games that have those kinds of like holiday and seasonal gifts and stuff. A lot of them are phone games, but there was what am I thinking? Animal Crossing: A New Leaf, which is the only Animal Crossing game I've ever played. But I played the shit out of it when I was a kid, and they always had. I mean, Animal Crossing I think always has Christmas events anyway, regardless of when you play. But
any game that has like a real-time clock always seems to have holiday events like that.
Do the current Pokemon games have holiday events?
Well, I haven't really played any of them, so I wouldn't really know.
That's fair.
I mean, I wasn't sure because I'm playing Sword and Shield now, but I haven't got far enough in to really know.
I gotcha. Yeah, I just because the last main series Pokemon game that I played was Sun, and I didn't even beat that. That one kind of turned me off of Pokemon.
I got 5 minutes in and never picked it up again, so.
Oh, well, I got a little bit further than you, but not by that much. But you know what? The problem for me with that one was Dragon Ball Fusions came out the same week. Yeah. So I started my file on Sun, and then Dragon Ball Fusions came out. It actually was like a month or so early than it was supposed to. And I picked that up, and I dumped all my time into that game. That game's awesome.
So we had mentioned it on the podcast last night, but me and Alex were talking about how, like, do you remember how like all the TV shows that you would watch back in the day would have like their yearly Christmas specials that like would play once and then you'd never see them again?
Yeah, not until next Christmas at least. But usually even then they would just come out with another Christmas episode.
That's what I'm saying. Like some of them had like yearly ones, and like you'd want to go see the original one. It's like, nope, it's gone forever.
That's how it was for me. And the original SpongeBob Christmas special was like one of my favorite like seasonal episodes of a cartoon when I was a kid. With a SpongeBob had like whittled Squidward a wooden clarinet.
Yeah, he went like out of his way, and Squidward was one of the more like notable Squidward being an asshole moments.
Yeah, well, that was one of the few times he made up for it.
Yeah, I always remember that one because see, this is how you know like a really old school viewer of SpongeBob, if they remember the live action Patchy the Pirate segments.
Yes.
That just stopped happening after a while.
Yeah, well, I got to a point. Well, I mean, I'm sure a part of it was him just getting older. Because isn't Patchy the guy who plays SpongeBob?
Maybe. I've never actually looked that up.
I'm pretty sure it's the same guy.
If it's Tom Kenny.
But I can imagine the show's been on for over 20 years, so the dude's got to be getting older.
It's been on far longer than it had any right to be on. I'll say that.
I mean, to be real, it should have stopped after that first movie, which I think was the original plan, and then they just didn't.
Yeah, I believe Steven Hillenberg wanted it to end there, and he just never did.
Now it's just like all the other new kids' cartoons that are just nonsense. Remember when SpongeBob had lessons?
You remember when cartoons in general had lessons?
Yeah.
I remember when fucking... What was a good kids. Thomas the Tank Engine, that taught you lessons.
Oh yeah,
and they didn't shove it down your throat.
Yeah,
George Carlin just
Thomas the Tank Engine freaked me out though.
Yeah, that's a thing apparently. Like some kids were scared of it.
It's just one of the I don't know. It's just something about Thomas just bothered me. Because I didn't personally watch it as a kid, but my little cousin watched it. He loved it. My little cousin Adam, and he like it was hard for me to sit there and watch it with him. And I'm only 6 years older than him, so like I was still like a young age. So it's not like I despise little kid shows the way I do. Or when you have a 2-year-old, it's kind of hard to despise kid shows.
Have you got into Bluey yet?
No, I've been thoroughly avoiding that one. I don't think she's ever seen it, luckily.
I should introduce you to my buddy Josh from Still Loading Podcast. He'll give you a lesson on why Bluey's the greatest thing ever. He also has young children. So.
Yeah. Although she's gotten sucked into Frozen.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, and you know what? Until this year, I had managed to avoid, even despite having significantly younger siblings than me, I still have managed to avoid it up until this year. And I knew it was going to happen, having a little girl and all, but you know, I wasn't prepared for it.
Yep. Oh man.
And she's funny. And she doesn't even like talk yet, but she still sings along with the songs. Like she learned it real quick.
It's almost like it was meant for that or something.
It really is. It like I don't know what it is with little girls in Frozen. It clicks with them.
I fell asleep while watching it.
Yeah.
Granted, I was working night shift at the time when it came out, so
it's fair.
I remember like Alex was watching it with my mom at one point, and I was just kind of there. And the next thing I know, I fell asleep on the couch, and they were watching something else when I woke up. So clearly, it didn't catch me as it did other people.
So were there any other specific Christmas specials from cartoons and stuff that you specifically remember, or?
Not so much cartoons, but I vividly remember the Friends episode with the holiday armadillo.
Oh, okay. I'm not very well versed in Friends. My mom watched it when I was a kid, but it was just kind of one of those things that I checked out of, like Saved by the Bell. And
Friends was like the only sitcom I could watch. So I always remember that episode just because of how ridiculous it was. It was essentially Ross was trying to teach. So in the show, Ross is Jewish, and he was trying to teach his son about Hanukkah, but there's no Hanukkah costumes at the store. So he gets the only costume they had left, which is a armadillo costume. And he's like, I'm the holiday armadillo. he's in this ridiculous like costume. And then Chandler shows up dressed as Santa Claus. And he's like, what are you doing? You're going to ruin it. Because the kid clearly cares more about Santa Claus than the guy in the armadillo suit. And then they kind of go through this whole thing where like they keep trying to teach the kid about Hanukkah, and then Joey shows up dressed as Superman.
That's awesome.
It's one of, I know Friends isn't for everybody, but it's like one of those episodes that's just great no matter
what. I'm sure I'd get into it if I watched it. You know, my wife and I actually watched we went through all of How I Met Your Mother this year, which we got really into that one too. That's a really funny show.
Which is basically a Friends ripoff. So
yeah, it's Friends, but in a bar.
Yeah.
But
and somehow the characters are worse people than the Friends characters, but
by far. Even the nice ones are worse.
Yeah.
But
yeah, other than that,
I think that's just the time though.
Yeah. Let's see, that was the thing. Like I was in that weird time period where like, I mean, I liked Seinfeld, I liked Friends, and I liked That 70s Show. Those were like the only sitcoms I got into. Then like, because I never liked The Office. I could never get into The Office.
Me neither. Or Workaholics. I never got into that one either.
Never saw that one.
I tried it. Didn't work out for me.
The thing was like, I only watched the older ones because my parents watched them. And then like later on when they stopped watching sitcoms, it was like, I didn't care for any of the ones that were out. Like never liked The Big Bang Theory. Never got that.
I've seen a couple episodes of that, and I've liked what I've seen, but I just haven't actually gone through it.
It's just not my style of humor.
Understandable.
Alex loves Parks and Recs. I can't get into Parks and Recs, but that's.
My wife told me that one was good, but I haven't checked it out. She said it was like Arrested Development, which I love that show.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just I'm not into sitcoms. I think I just like Friends because of nostalgia.
That's understandable.
I think my theory on sitcoms is everyone has that one that they just really like, and then they're kind of just indifferent to every other one or only sort of like them.
Would you consider Always Sunny in Philadelphia to be a sitcom?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, that's probably my top one. Although that 70s show and Scrubs are the ones that are like super nostalgic for me.
See, that 70s show was great, but it kind of got ruined by like current events.
Yeah. Well,
when you find out one of the main characters was that big of a piece of shit, it kind of like ruins the show in a way. But
I mean, I don't know. It's one of those separation things.
It's hard with that one because they all kind of ended up coming out as kind of not the greatest people.
I mean, I think that's just kind of a side effect of social media. I mean,
true.
I feel like the illusion of celebrities being great people has kind of gone away with the rise of social media.
Yeah, well, because you're realizing all of them are kind of sucky.
Really it turns out they're all just people, and people are flawed. And some of them are going to be, slightly flawed, and then some of them are going to be extremely flawed to the point of jail time.
Yeah, the jail time is one way of putting it.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things. You kind of have to.
I will say
have to look past it.
I will say
look past it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I will say I did enjoy that 90s show.
Yeah,
when I was watching that.
Yes, that 90s show. I'm excited to see where that one goes. I like what they did with it.
But getting back to Christmas now.
So this came up this week, especially since I actually just finished reading the book. So my wife and I were talking about different versions of Christmas Carol.
Oh, there's so many of them.
There is. Do you have a definitive version? Like do you have a version that you consider to be like your Christmas Carol?
So the one with Patrick Stewart is one that I have a lot of memories of. Mm-hmm. Is that Scrooged, or is that just a Christmas Carol? I can't remember half the time.
It's a Christmas Carol.
Is it just called Scrooged was a different one. That one is very iconic. I also have a soft spot for the Muppets Christmas Carol.
We've watched that one like 3 times already.
I know. Well, I mean, over on GNC, we have this weird Kermit the Frog obsession, so now it's just kind of become a full circle kind of thing.
Yeah.
The classic Disney one is pretty, like the Disney Christmas Carol, like with Mickey Mouse and stuff. That one is pretty iconic. Yeah. That one's short, but it's surprisingly very effective.
Yeah, that was the one that I watched as a kid the most, because we talked about like the differences between them, and we both decided that the Patrick Stewart one is like the best one out of the ones we've seen. And like when we think Scrooge, that's what we think. But as far as like the ones we have the most memories of, like for me, it's the Disney one with Scrooge McDuck and Mickey Mouse. And for her, it's the Muppets one.
The Muppets one is just so classic. Like it's the songs more than anything. Like that really like get you to remember it. I'm trying to think. Another one I have weird memories of is the Flintstones Christmas Carol.
I forgot that they did that.
I mean, pretty much everything did a Christmas Carol spinoff at one point or another.
So I think it came out this year. Have you seen A Christmas Karen?
Oh, we brought this up last night because Alex was like, Christmas Karen. I was like, what?
We watched it a couple weeks ago. It's actually pretty damn funny.
Is it? I might have to look into that.
It's like a modern Christmas Carol with just like a super bitch.
It's funny though, because like that story is so simple, yet it is like so also well written and iconic that like you can stick it in any situation and it works for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why they've made so many different versions of it. You know, there's so many different ways to tell the story, but at the end of the day, it's the same story.
referencing Thomas the Tank Engine again. They did a fucking Thomas the Tank Engine Christmas Carol at one point too.
Did they really?
It's in the way later CGI stuff, but like they did it at one point. It was, I've seen clips of it. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think every cartoon references it at one point or another, because I think Fairly Odd Parents did a Christmas Carol at one point.
That makes sense.
I might be thinking of another show, to be honest, but it's weird though, because that's like one of those universally, like almost. I don't think there's a bad version of it, to be honest.
Not that I've seen, at least. It's just one of those like timeless stories, you know. I mean, the original book was written in what, the mid 1800s.
Charles Dickens' original book,
almost 200 years ago, you know, and the story is still as prolific now as it was then, if not more so.
I just think it's crazy that that's when you take that book and look at his other books like that he wrote around the same time. It's like, it's excuse me, it's crazy how like that guy's writing was like on a different level.
Honestly. It really was. I personally have only read 2 of his books so far. I have some more on my shelf that I plan to get to.
I've been meaning one of those. I've been meaning to reread the Pickwick Papers for a long time, because that's like one of his most famous.
Oh, is it? I don't even know if I've heard of that one.
That's like one of his earliest.
Oh, well, I read Hard Times earlier in the year, and that one, it was good, but it was a little rough, like some of the language that he uses and stuff. The older English. It's not old English, but it's older English.
Nah, 100%.
So it. I mean, I definitely found Christmas Carol to be an easier read than Hard Times. But I have a copy of Oliver Twist's Tale of Two Cities, Bleak House, and Great Expectations. So I plan to read those at some point. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
No, those are definitely all great ones. I got to sit down and rewatch some of these.
What, some of the movies or?
Yeah, some honestly.
Yeah.
So we brought this is what I want to bring up. We brought this up last night. Do you have a Christmas movie that you can't stand? Like, it is the one that like you see and you immediately are like, nope.
I don't know.
So for me, I'll give mine real quick. Elf. I cannot stand Elf.
Oh, really?
So I mentioned it like last night, but basically like during the end, so like Elf came out at a point, I think I was still in middle school at the time, and that was like towards the Christmas end of like the year, basically around Christmas time. That's when the teachers were just checked out, because all the students were checked out, and they were basically like, movie every class, because we don't feel like teaching right now.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point around where Elf came out where I swear to God, every single class I went to, they would watch Elf.
Mm-hmm.
But we wouldn't continue where we left off. We would restart from the beginning every single time. So,
jeez, so just imagine like the first like 45 minutes of the movie over and over and over.
Oh yeah, and I can only take so much Will Ferrell before I go insane. So
that's understandable.
Yeah, that Elf is like on my list of like, if I see it on, like I see the first 5 minutes of it, I immediately turn it off, because I just can't take that film anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have any particular that I just hate. I mean, there's definitely some that I like more than others, but I don't think there's any in particular that I just would turn off immediately. There was definitely a point in time where A Christmas Story did get old, because, you know, like I said, it was on for like a full 48 hours every year, and that's just the day before. That's just Christmas Eve and Christmas. That's not counting all the, you know, month and a half, 2 months beforehand, you know. But no, I mean, aside from that, I don't think, I mean, I don't hate it, and it's definitely a good movie. But The Polar Express was overplayed so much when I was a kid.
The book is better.
I just got so sick of it after a while.
I think, as Alex said last night, that movie's horrifying to her.
It is. It's spooky.
The CGI is so dated, and it's like to me, like some of the scenes were like ridiculous, like the hobo on the roof and them just skiing on the train as it's going.
Yeah, no kidding. And like it definitely has like some spooky parts to it. You know what? I'm not sure who directed it, but it's a Castle Rock production. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same studio that made all these Stephen King movies. It was based off of Stephen King movies and stuff. So like, I guess it makes sense that it has those spooky moments.
See, to me, I found that movie to be disappointing just because of the fact that that was like one of my childhood books. Like I remember reading the Polar Express like all the time. Like, and to me, like for some reason, the movie it just didn't transfer the same way to like a film compared to the book.
Yeah,
the book had like subtlety to it that I feel like just kind of worked better in a lot of ways.
I get that.
Yeah.
Plus it's one of those things. It's one of those movies where like the CGI was super impressive at the time,
but it's aged
like,
so badly.
Watching it now, watching the mouths move is like, ugh. See, it looks so bad.
I get lost when we get to like the points where like they're going over the ice river, and I'm just looking at this like, no. no.
And it feels too long.
Well, because they padded it out so much. Like they added so much additional stuff that's not in the book. Like the book is short. It's not a very long book at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I still like the message at the end, the whole like you can't hear the bells if you don't believe kind of thing. Like because the subtlety of the book I really enjoyed because it was like the whole like they basically implied that like everyone could hear the bell he had at the end, but then like when they grew up they just stopped hearing it, but he could still remember it kind of thing.
Yeah,
it was interesting to me because it was just like they didn't like completely shove it in your face. It was very much you had to take what you got by example kind of.
Yeah. Do you remember the Christmas special of Pokemon?
Not really. So that's not a good sign.
It was from the first season, like the Indigo Plateau stuff. I'm having trouble remembering exactly, but I want to say it was like kind of revolved around Jessie and why she hates Christmas because like she didn't get what she wanted for Christmas. But then it turns out like it was like a Jinx or something that was dressed like Santa that was like stealing her presents. It was something along those lines. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I watched it, but it's bizarre, especially since anime doesn't usually get Christmas episodes.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think the most recent thing I can think of that has Christmas in it is actually the Kaguya-sama movie, now that I think about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it seems like the slice of life animes are the ones that tend to have Christmassy stuff.
Yeah, because they never did it in Dragon Ball, I don't think, anyways.
Not officially, but I think Toriyama did do like a big, like 2-page drawing of like all the different Dragon Ball characters.
Yeah, because there's that picture of like Chi-Chi, like sexy Chi-Chi for some reason that I'm always like, why did Toriyama want to draw this?
Oh geez. Oh, and there's also 2 Christmas specials in Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Well, yeah, that's different.
Yeah. Well, I showed Plan to Eradicate Christmas to my stepson last year, and he fucking loved it.
Oh, it's
that
great.
was hilarious.
It's great, but it isn't technically official.
No, obviously not. But although, no, he's not in that one. I was gonna say Chris Abbott makes a couple of appearances throughout Abridged, but I don't think that's one of them.
Didn't Funimation not like that?
Oh, I'm sure they didn't. But yeah. I mean, and didn't he go on to like some ridiculous name too? It was like like DJ Sexamillionaire or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's what. Oh, a different time.
Yeah, but so when you were a kid, do you have like a specific Christmas present that you remember getting that like sticks out in your mind?
Oh, the Game Boy Color, definitely.
The Game Boy Color.
That's basically what got me into video games because I remember Christmas morning, Game Boy Color, and 2 games. I had Super Mario Deluxe and Klax, and my child brain said Klax is the way to go. That was my first video game.
Fair enough. I I had a similar thing. Mine was it's a tie actually. The PS2, which I got, and it came with, I believe, ATV Off-Road Fury 2. I'm pretty sure that was the game that came with like every PS2. And I also got the first Budokai game with that, and
The,
that was
those
like my first console that was mine, and I played the shit out of it.
We were actually talking about that on a Discord server I'm in today. Someone got Budokai 1, and I was laughing, saying that game's worth it for the cutscenes alone.
For real, especially if you're playing the original one with the Yamamoto music.
The Yamamoto music and the GameCube version has like they tried to like cell shade the graphics and it doesn't look as good in my opinion. The
Mm.
the PS2 original one is great though because it's like it looks so bad but like in that charming endearing way.
Oh yeah, and this is still during the era when they were still editing the lip flaps to try and make it match up with the English.
Yeah. That's also right around when the funny cast like really found their place.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
love how they desperately try to recreate so many scenes in that game and it looks so bad but great at the same time.
and like the stupid little mini games with like trying to keep Raditz within the line of the
Yeah.
special beam cannon, and
That
the,
was
the
so dumb.
I know I always got so frustrated at that part right at the beginning, and then there was like the part where you had to figure out how to do like the little I don't even know what the hell you would call it. It was when like you both did like a heavy move, like a heavy strike at the same time, and like the screen would kind of like shatter and it all be all black, and you have to
Yep.
spin the analog. You know what I'm talking about. And
See,
I think there was another one where you had to deflect X amount of key blasts, like dumb
my,
little
my
stuff like
favorite
that.
thing my favorite thing about that game is the fact that like when you would be watching the cutscenes, occasionally the cutscene would get cut off early by like the clear screen and you get the or like the you got a capsule like
Oh yeah.
message would pop up. So like it would completely destroy the mood of certain scenes. Like my favorite is the scene where Trunks gets shot like through the chest by Cell, and it's
Mhm.
just all of a sudden like you got a prize with this happy music, and it's as Trunks is falling to the ground, it's like
Yeah,
yay.
he gets shot and it's just like
Yep. Uh, that game
it's
was
too funny.
also the models for all the characters are very off because everybody has technically the same model. So Vegeta's like really wide and somewhat tall for no reason.
Yeah, I don't know how they figured out Krillin with that one, but
Yeah. Ironically,
um,
though, I'm still bummed that was the only game that tried to actually recreate the cutscenes because, like, you get to Budokai 2 and it's like crazy board game, and like they sort of just kind of pop on screen and they're like, "This is the story," blah blah blah. Go back to board game now.
but kind of because they make it kind of like happen all at once.
Yeah, yeah. That board game is so ridiculous, but I kind of love it.
It's honest. I'm probably one of like the few people in the world who think that that's great. I love the whole board game thing because it like, especially with Dragon Ball games at the time, like there wasn't a whole lot of like co-op type of like multiplayer.
Mm.
And with the board game, because the way it would work is you'd have like the regular Goku guy who would run around on the board game, but then you could also pick up to like two or three like extra characters with their own like health bars and stuff. So like you could have a couple of your friends on the couch with you and be like, okay, you be Goku, I'll be Gohan, and you can be Vegeta. You know what I mean? Like, and you'd all do whatever you want with the characters. It was it's fun, stupid shit like that.
Yeah, I can imagine that was a great like PS2 game, like to get back in the day.
Yeah, I actually I mentioned it on the Discord with Budokai 2. I think I actually messed that up. On the Discord I said I bought it with my birthday money. I think it was actually Christmas money.
Hmm.
Um oh, but the other thing that was tied with the PS2 was my Game Boy Advanced, which was a couple years later. Um which I believe the first two games I got with that were Sonic Advanced and Legacy of Goku 1,
What a
which
what a wonderful, not great game.
well, see, I'm sure we'll end up talking about it whenever we get around to our Dragon Ball video game episode. But like, I played the
Shit.
shit out of that game.
Shout out to Rick from Pixel Project Radio. He's playing it right now, and like I've been seeing his thoughts on it so far, and he is not enjoying it. So um, I look forward to that episode he's going to do on it later this month, or I think towards the end of the year, because it's gonna. I'm very interested in seeing what he has to say.
You'll have to point me out to the link for that episode because I'll definitely give that a listen.
I'll send you an invite to his server. It's he's a good guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen him around on the GNC, and is he on the novel console one too?
Yeah, he's over there. Rick's a really good guy. Like we talked, he's been on GNC twice. He did the Ghibli films retrospective, and then he was on the great controller debate episode, which is still one of my favorites.
Oh, I liked both of those episodes.
And then I've been on his show to talk about we talked about the Inuyasha RPG on PS2.
I think I remember you saying that one.
But yeah, he's a good guy though.
But yeah, of course, but both of the consoles that I remember specifically from Christmas came with a Dragon Ball game in that case. So how early would your parents put wrapped presents under the tree?
Oh, they weren't there until the night of.
Really?
Oh yeah, they weren't even playing with that.
They my parents and actually my aunt and uncle, because I spent a lot of time there as a kid, they would always have presents wrapped under the tree, like, as far as 2 weeks before Christmas, and it drove us crazy.
So my parents were, as a kid, you kind of figured it out after a while. The night before Christmas Eve, my mom would disappear into the basement for like hours every year. And as a kid, you never got it. As an adult, though, I kind of realized she's wrapping presents downstairs.
Yeah.
And then in like the mornings, we'd obviously me and Alex would wake up first because that's just how children are. We wouldn't be allowed to go downstairs until they moved everything into position because they had to keep the illusion of Santa left them there the night before.
Yeah.
It's things that like you didn't really get as a kid, but now like you're an adult, you understand, and you're like, yep.
Yeah. Makes a lot more sense.
It's nice now when you're an adult and then you just drive up and it's already ready to go and you don't have to deal with any of that.
I remember getting a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh tins for Christmas.
I remember a lot of Hot Wheels back in the day. Eventually I'd get like the new handheld every year. The year the DS came out, that was a big one because I remember that was like the newest thing ever. Like the whole like still trying to grasp the two screens.
Yeah, that threw me off. I don't think anyone ever bought me one of those, but I ended up with the original like gray DS because a buddy of mine got the DS Lite, so he gave me his old bulky one.
The thick boy, yeah.
Yeah, and then I got the DS Lite later on. Which I actually I still have that same one, the same DS Lite from when I was like 12 or 13.
I still have my OG like thick DS, and it is one of the hinges is busted, and the thing it's so beat up, but it still works.
I had like 3 or 4 of those laying around my house, because my little brother and to a much lesser extent my little sister would use them, and I'm pretty sure they're still around, but they all have busted hinges.
Yep. I also remember when the PSP came out. That was a mega game changer at the time.
I got that one for Christmas too, actually. My great uncle got it for me because he got himself one too because he loves playing the MLB games.
Yep.
No, so PSP. He ended up getting me one, and I got was it Battlefront 2?
Oh yeah. I had Battlefront 2 as well.
I think one of the games that he gave me with it though was Lord of the Rings Tactics, and I loved that game.
So the 3 I got were I had Battlefront 2, Crash Tag Team Racing, and then because you could watch movies on it, I had Daddy Daycare, which garbage movie, but watching it on the PSP was novel at the time.
My single PSP movie was The Incredibles. So that's a movie that I didn't watch for like 15 years because I had seen it so many times. Because it was also one of those movies that they played all the time, no matter whose house you went to. whether they were playing movies at school. You know, The Incredibles was friggin' everywhere. So
that was me with robots, because I had robots on the PSP as well.
I liked that movie. It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
Yeah, I just remember the whole playing. The first time I played PSP, I played Crash Tag Team Racing. I think was the first game I played. Just I was my mind was blown by the graphics, because I also had the PS2 version. I was like, it's the same game. It's amazing. It's on handheld.
Yeah. Yeah, I really wish the PlayStation handhelds, like, well, I wish that Sony would commit to them. Like, they keep making them and then they don't commit to it.
Well,
if they committed to it, it would do a lot better.
The PSP did pretty well. Like, it's a big misconception that when people say the PSP failed, because the PSP did not fail. You want to blow someone's mind, you can just tell them that the PSP sold more than the 3DS.
I mean, I believe it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the numbers were bad by any means. It's just that they had a strong start and everyone was all excited to get one, and then they didn't maintain it.
So the PSP, the reason why it gets overshadowed is the fact that its main competitor was the DS, which is the second best-selling video game system of all time. By it's pretty close to PS2. PS2 is only slightly above it.
Yeah.
Vita, on the other hand, though, that thing failed miserably, which is sad, because the Vita is arguably the greatest handheld ever made.
I mean, I love my Vita. You know, I got a bunch of Final Fantasies on it. I got I also have Battlefront 2 on that.
It has the greatest game ever made on it. So I mean,
that's fair. I think I got a couple of classic Disney games on there too, like the Toy Story 2, and I had a couple other ones too. I'd have to go through it.
Yeah, going back to Christmas presents, I'm trying to think of other ones that were pretty big. The PS3 was pretty huge at the time. I remember that.
One of the things that I remember is whenever I get like I said, that they would wrap presents early, so whenever I'd see like a small rectangular present, I always pick it up and give it a shake, and I'd say, yep, that is the Telltale VHS rattle. I'm getting Dragon Ball movies.
Yep.
Because I always ask for Dragon Ball movies every time. Like,
see, my favorite was when you'd grab a present and it was like one of the ones that was supposed to go with another present, and it'd be like, oh, the strategy guide for a game that I don't own yet. I wonder what else I'm getting. Like, you'd always get goofy stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Did you so this is not really presents, but did you always decorate the tree every year?
Oh yeah, of course. Well, especially because, like, for a long time I was an only child. My little siblings weren't born until I was 8.
Yep.
So like I had a lot more of a focus on that kind of stuff. Like, the closest thing to a sibling I had was my cousin Marissa. We're only 2 months apart. So our moms would always get us together for like everything. We were always together. So that was kind of like, we would decorate the tree at our house, and then we'd go over there, we'd decorate it at their house. It's one of those things.
Yeah, I always remember. It's really funny now because because I own my own place now. I have my own tree, and I got all of my old ornaments from my parents during Thanksgiving. And I was looking through the box, and it's really funny looking at some of them, because like some of them they've been through some hell over the years.
Yeah.
Like I always laugh because I have one-armed, one-legged Mickey. Because I've got amputee SpongeBob because both his legs are missing. Like, just like crazy goofy stuff like that. Like, these ornaments have been through hell.
Oh yeah, I think there's a bunch of SpongeBob ornaments at my mom's house.
It's funny just looking at them, like, because I had a ton of NASCAR ornaments too, just like chilling. It's a whole bunch of crazy stuff. It's funny how like you get also all the homemade ones that you made in like middle school and like elementary school, like preschool.
Yep. I got some of those. One of them, I remember specifically, it was, I think my mom still has it. It was just it was a plastic ball that, like, it came in 2 halves and you glue it together and stuff. And I remember I just glued like a bunch of like red glitter on the inside, and
Yep.
I closed it shut, and I said it was a remember all from Harry Potter.
Nice. I had my favorites were like I had like a CD that's just covered in glitter. That was an ornament.
That's great.
Fun stuff like that. Back when the holidays were fun and you were an adult and you realized how corporate they were.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous, man. It
Like I was driving home from work today and I was going when I went to Barnes and Noble, I was just kind of driving through that area where all the stores are and it was fucking hellhole. Like all the people out last minute Christmas shopping. I'm like this is why people buy online now because it's like no one wants to deal with this shit.
Walmart is the worst place to be during Christmas.
Oh, it's hell. Like, Targets are hell.
It's
Any
like a
store.
mosh pit.
Oh yeah, and people, it shows how little the Christmas spirit matters to people when like you see they're all fighting over shit. And people are just rude. Like there's some rude people nowadays this
For
time of
real.
year.
We're planning on doing some Christmas shopping tomorrow afternoon.
Same. I gotta buy bags and cards. That's always the challenge because I gotta go through. See, you buy those and that's not hard getting them, but then you gotta wait through the fucking hell of a line just to
Oh
get to the
yeah.
checkout. Even the self checkout's always hell because
Well, even just trying to navigate through the store is awful.
oh yeah, oh, it's terrible.
Especially if you have a carriage. If you have a carriage, forget about it.
Oh, yeah. I was basket. Basket is the way to go.
Yeah, for real.
That is the sad part about growing up, though. Is the magic kind of goes away, and you start realizing what it really is these days.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's why I'm more into. I just like the actual hanging out. I don't even care what I get anymore.
You know what the best thing in the world though is Christmas morning coffee.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's harder for me and Alex because we got to drive up in the morning. But once we get to our parents' house, that's nice.
Yeah.
Christmas morning coffee is great. I just love that chilling in the morning, like get the fire going, like it's quiet, like nobody's like everybody's just in a good mood, and it's like, yeah, this is nice.
Yeah, once the excitement of unwrapping everything and stuffing all the wrapping paper into trash bags is done, and the kids just are excited and playing with all their new stuff, and you just kind of hang out,
chilling.
Yeah, got a
honestly
movie or some Christmas music going, and
my favorite Christmases I've had recently are like the last few where it's just been chill because everyone's adults now and we just kind of relax.
Last year was the first Christmas in my entire life that I didn't go anywhere. Because I grew up, my parents were split when I was a kid. By the time I was 2 years old, they were split. So I've always had to bounce. I have my morning at my mom's house, and then we'd either go to my aunt's house or she would come to our house, and we'd do like another thing there. And we'd always have like a thing at my stepdad's parents' house on Christmas Eve. And, then after all that, I'd have to go to my dad's house. It's just, and it's even worse now because we got my mom's family, my dad's family, my wife's family, my stepson's family. It's just too much, man.
See, for me, it's always been pretty easy for me and Alex because like we're like the youngest kids on my dad's side of the family, and then we don't really talk to my mom's side of the family anymore. So it's always just kind of been us. So like every year, just the four of us. So we kind of always have been in that kind of it's actually interesting now because now we actually do have to travel because me and Alex are in Connecticut, obviously, and our parents are in another state. So we travel for that. And it's kind of nice though. Like the whole, like just going down for the day, just spending time and then heading out at the end.
Well, this year isn't going to be too bad because I guess we're doing like a breakfast on the Christmas Eve morning. So I'm kind of be getting the whole my mom's side of the family out of the way before Christmas even happens. So it's just as much as I love seeing my parents and my siblings and stuff on Christmas, it'll just be nice having one less place to stop.
It's nice too because this year Christmas is on a Monday, so it's like it's right at the start of the week, and then you can just have the rest. If you're taking it off, like in my case, you just have the rest of the week to just relax.
Yeah, for real.
You mentioned music. Do you have any like favorite Christmas songs or like music like playlist or anything?
Uh, Trans-Siberian Orchestra is really good.
Mm.
I like listening to that around Christmas. It's kind of an extension of what we were saying about non-Christmas movies being Christmas movies, but the Harry Potter soundtrack,
Mm-hmm.
that one comes up, especially since I got married because she's a huge Potterhead.
Yeah.
And obviously I grew up with it. I watched the movies, I read the books and stuff as a kid, so I enjoy it too. Um, let's see. Uh, when I was a kid, I liked Silent Night a lot.
Mm.
I don't know why, I just did.
I have a whole playlist of like on Spotify of like just Christmas music that I play every year around this time of year. Like one of my favorites is like it's pretty funny, but the punk rock band Bad Religion, they did an entire Christmas album,
Oh yeah.
and it's just hardcore punk versions of like all of these like classic Christmas songs, like Little Drummer Boy, and just imagine that as a punk rock song. I'll probably share the playlist on the server this year, but
I'll have to check it out.
yeah, that's like one of my all time favorites.
We have a we have a Sinatra Christmas record that
That's a
we
good one.
actually we had that on when we were decorating the tree the other day. Well, I say we. I was hanging out with the little one while my wife and my son decorated the tree
Hmm.
because she kept trying to throw ornaments thinking they were balls.
Yep. One of my favorite Christmas songs is "All I Want for Christmas Is You," and that's especially the My Chemical Romance cover.
I like the Star Trek cover.
That's a good one.
All I want for Christmas is Q.
That's a good one.
There was another one. Make it so.
Make it so. Yeah, that's a good one too.
That one's good too. We listen to that every year.
One of my favorite Christmas songs. So one of my favorite bands of all time is Bowling for Soup, and they did an entire Christmas album called "Merry Flippin' Christmas." And most of their songs, so they did a bunch of covers like of actual Christmas songs, but they also made a bunch of original songs too.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite by far is they have a song called A Corner Store on Christmas. It is essentially a parody of the 12 Days of Christmas, but instead it's the protagonist goes to the corner store to buy the Christmas gifts, and it's like each one is $1, goes from like $1 to $2 to $3 up to $12. I think it ends where it's like, and we spent $12 on a 6-pack of beer, and then they just cut. It's like it was really cheap. But the song ends like perfectly, where the song literally ends where he just goes, "Oh no, we forgot the batteries." Because everybody's been there, like Christmas Eve, you forgot the batteries, and it's like the end of the world.
Yeah, especially the year I got the Game Boy Advance for Christmas.
Oh yeah, before charging was a thing.
Yep. All the kids who don't have no idea about the struggle. And I will just say, Bill, I know this is an older episode at this point, but I completely understand your nostalgia for batteries.
Oh, see, Dave
I will
and Alex
defend you for that one. I will defend you on that one.
Dave and Alex did not agree with my sentiment.
No,
shout out to Dave Jackson from Tales of the Backlog, by the way.
Kids nowadays don't understand the struggle.
My favorite part of that whole thing is I went through my whole heartfelt speech, and then Dave was just like, "Yeah, I do not have nostalgia for changing batteries, Bill, but that's a nice story." And I'm just like, "Okay."
He's just like, "Nice story, but you're wrong."
To be fair, I don't even know where the hell I was going with that.
No, I totally get it though, man. It's one of those things.
It's a thing that kids will never understand. It's like they won't understand the warm light and like playing your Game Boy Advance games in the car like this because it was the only way you could see the screen.
Yeah, at nighttime when friggin' when you're wait to do anything on your game until you're passing under a street light.
Yeah, or God, the worm light was definitely that was a thing that kids won't understand. To me, though, excuse me, when the SP came out and we had the first originally front lit screen, that was a game changer.
Oh yeah, big time.
Which is funny because I didn't know like the Game Gear had that already, or like the Lynx, like older handhelds.
Well, that was just one of those things that Nintendo took a little while to catch up on.
Well, Nintendo traded that for battery life, and they won the war. They won the war that way. So
in the era of having to change batteries, that was definitely a decider right there.
I mean, when you could, so the original Game Boy had 4 AA's and lasted like 30 hours or something, and the Game Gear had 6 AA's, and what you were lucky to get like 10.
That's solid.
So
yeah, Game Boy definitely had them there.
that
Although we still
had
have
Tetris.
a little bit, we still have a little bit of the whole battery thing because I don't remember. I think it was 2 years ago. I bought my wife a Switch for Christmas, and I had gotten her a controller to go with it because she ended up getting the Animal Crossing Switch. Yep. So I got her an Animal Crossing controller to go with it, but I didn't realize that I had accidentally gotten her the kind with AA's. So, but I mean, the battery lasts a fairly long time. Even the cheapo batteries last a long time. So, I mean, at least things like that don't use a lot of power.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
So
that always reminds. Oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that always reminds me of like Alex's like the best years for Alex for Christmas were whenever a new Animal Crossing came out, because like that would literally just like the day would be over for her. She would just be playing Animal Crossing the rest of the day.
Yeah. Well, there was a long time when Dragon Ball games came out like every year around November. So I got a lot of Dragon Ball games for Christmas.
No, that's understandable.
But Fable 2, I got that for Christmas one year when that came out. And God, I pretty much spent my entire Christmas vacation playing that game. I know we'll get into it when that episode eventually happens, but it's such a good game. At least I think so. I'm sure there's people who disagree with me, but it's one of those ones I always come back to.
No, there's a ton of games like that. Like I'm trying to think like another game that I got around this time that was basically like it ended the my entire Christmas vacation was just devoted to. I remember Mario and Luigi Partners in Time on DS was a big one because I played the hell out of that for basically the entire vacation.
I believe that. Yeah, I don't know. It's not. I think I pretty much run through all the ones that I specifically remember as far as video games go. I know there's probably plenty of other ones. I think I got a Wii for Christmas one year too, but
I remember when I remember the Wii because me and Alex got one of those for Christmas one year, and I remember we spent like 3 hours making Miis.
It's about right.
And then playing Wii Sports and flailing around.
I will say that's one thing about the Switch that bothers me a little bit is there's no Miis.
I mean, there are, but not really.
Like, I don't know. The concept of Miis was definitely overblown when the Wii came out. Like, they definitely took it further than it needed to be. But at the same time, like, it was kind of cool to have your own little guy that you could just make. And with certain games, you could use that Mii for Smash Bros. Or
I mean, you still can to a degree, but they're nowhere near as prominent as they were.
I think they were in was there Mii's in the 3DS?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I think I remember like you had to set one up and you could there was like a Mii fighter character in Smash Bros that would actually use your Mii.
Mm-hmm. You could also use Mii's in Mario Kart.
So we've gone through like a lot of the major ones we remember receiving for Christmas. Is there any specific gift that stands out of like a really special gift that you've given someone for Christmas?
I had a few. Like I remember one year I got my mom a set of ornaments. Like this was the first year I had money, so like I went like all out. I remember I got her a set of like Christmas tree ornaments that like symbolized like every member of the family plus the cats. That one I remember hitting off very well. Alex has always been kind of easier because it would usually be like the new Pokemon came out or something. Like that would be her present.
Excuse me.
The ornaments was definitely the big one. I'm trying to think of one I got my dad. My dad's harder because he kind of hates everything, but
I know that struggle.
Usually I'd get him like something music related, and he'd be usually okay with that. Yeah.
Well, at this point, I've given 2 Switches for Christmas. I got one for my son one year, and then I think a year or 2 later, I got one for my wife. But this year, I think, is like the biggest gift I've ever given anyone. It's the trip that I'm taking Xander on, which I'm really excited for. Just over 2 weeks, and I can tell him it's going to be exciting. Cindy has like this whole big reveal planned.
Oh, nice. Oh, actually, I thought of the one for my dad. It was, I got him a custom made wooden sign for his business the first year they were open.
Mm-hmm. That
was a nice one. It literally showed up like a day before Christmas too.
For my dad, I think there's only a couple of times that I really remember like giving him something that he seemed like genuinely excited about. I got him like a big encyclopedia of guns because he was a gun head when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like super redneck, always wearing camo, going hunting and fishing all the time, listening to country, you know the kind. Yep. But I got him like this big encyclopedia of guns that he liked a lot. And I also at one point got him the If You're a Redneck book.
Oh, the Jeff Foxworthy one?
Yeah. Because I remember he used to listen to like, there was that little quartet of comedians. It was like Jeff Foxworthy, Ron
Larry
White.
the Cable Guy, Bill and Ron White. Yep.
Yeah. So he used to watch those guys a lot, like the stand-ups and stuff. So I got him the redneck book. My stepdad is a lot harder to shop for. Actually, my mom and my stepdad are both really hard to shop for because I don't know. It just feels like they don't have a whole lot of like outward interests. It feels like they have interests, but they're usually like the kind of stuff that they do on their own. So I don't really know much about them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I don't know. A lot of my family is kind of hard to shop for.
Yeah. See, the thing is, it's like, honestly, I've kind of reached the point like where I get it now, because like I was always infamously like the pain in the ass to get for, like, especially growing up, because my mom's always like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I'm like, Especially like once you have like income and you can get whatever you want, it's like it's harder to like answer. So like the more you grow up, the more you kind of look into like what you actually need, not so much what you want.
Yeah, I understand that. I think the most excited I've ever seen my wife about any gift she's gotten for Christmas was a slotted spoon. Because we had just moved into our first place, the apartment. And obviously there was a lot of like kitchen utensils and stuff that we didn't have yet. So she was like pumped that she got that. I think that year I got a copy of it was a first edition of Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. It was his like fantasy book. It's a fun book.
See, I like the presents where like you can tell they actually thought about it and actually like cared. Because like you can tell sometimes when they don't, when it's, I've never had this with family, but like sometimes like friends and stuff, they don't know what to get you, so they get you just something like random, and you're like, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, I get that. See, I'm super easy to shop. Like if somebody comes up and says, "Hey, what do you want for Christmas?" There's always a book I want. And books aren't generally very expensive unless you're looking for something super specific and rare. So like
you're the manga collector. I want the full set of Berserk leather bound.
No kidding. Yeah, no, the worst I'll do is I'll ask for like one of those, and that's like, if it's somebody I know who's going to spend a decent amount on me, whether I tell them to or not.
Yeah.
But generally like, no matter what book you get, it's going to be like 20, maybe $30 at most if it's like a nice hardcover, but even then, if you're ordering on Amazon, they usually tend to be a little cheaper.
Yeah. And they show up like a day later, and it's nice.
Yeah. But yeah, aside from that, I think mostly just the big trip is what I'm mostly excited about. I can't think of anything else in particular that like really stands out for gifts that I've given. And I know that I put thought into a lot of the ones from back then, but like I say, it's so hard to shop for my family.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's kind of like you really start to understand the concept of like it's the thought that counts more the older you get.
For sure. So you and Alex when you guys were growing up, obviously, when you're a kid and it's Christmas morning, you're up hours before your parents, no matter who
Yep.
you are. Um, did you guys have like a routine or something that you guys would do to kill time, waiting until the allowed time to wake up your parents?
Um, so it wasn't really, so it was harder because like we were upstairs and like there wasn't really a place we could hang out during that period of time because the rooms were separated and everything.
Hmm.
I would usually just, so Alex was always up first because she would get up super early and try to wake everyone up.
Hmm.
Um, See, I had a horrible insomniac problem Christmas Eve where I like wouldn't be able to sleep and then I'd sleep in later than usual. So I'd usually sleep through the waiting period.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
on the rare times I did wake up, I'd usually just play like Game Boy or something or handheld, one of my game handhelds or something.
I gotcha. See, I had like the double insomniac thing where it'd take me forever to fall asleep, and then I'd still be up at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
But I I was like so impatient. Like I was allowed to do like my stocking and stuff before I could wake them up, and that was cool. You know, it'd be like little chocolates and stuff, and like a couple little fun doodads to mess with. But
Hmm.
I was like super impatient about it. Like I'd be so antsy to get to it that like I couldn't gather up enough focus to play a game or like watch a movie or something. So my kind of Christmas tradition while I waited was I would watch Tom and Jerry because they were short episodes and didn't require a lot of attention.
Yeah.
So for a long time every year I would just watch Tom and Jerry until the time came. And of course, like it was whatever time it was that year on the dot, I'd be up there knocking on the door.
See, the real game changer was the when smartphones were introduced, and then we just like browse the internet until
Yeah, well, by the time I got a smartphone, I was long past the whole up at 4 o'clock in the morning thing for Christmas.
true. Very true. I mean, I eventually we had computers and I could just go on the internet and browse. I played The Sims a lot. That was a big thing I do to kill time.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that was mainly what I remember because I didn't really have anyone with me. Because I don't know if like did you and Alex ever do anything together while you were waiting or
Not really, because I'd usually still be asleep.
yeah, fair enough.
She'd be the one that would wake me up.
What's weird is there was actually one year where we had to wake Xander up for Christmas morning.
Sometimes that happens because like you stay up all night and then you sleep in.
It's crazy to me. Well, it's one of those things where like what most kids like they'll when they hear it's time for bed on Christmas Eve, they go straight to bed because it's like they cannot wait for the next day to start.
Mm.
So and Xander is one of those kids, so it was so like weird that he wasn't already like we woke up at like 8 o'clock. Actually, no, Cindy had woken up super early. I slept a little bit longer, but she woke me up. Was like, "Hey, Xander's not awake yet. Let's go get him up." Like, it was funny.
Sometimes it works out like that.
Um, did your family have any embarrassing Christmas morning videos, like old camcorder videos?
There's a few, but they're so old that like I don't even know if they still have them. To be honest, I'd have to ask.
I know my mom still has some. They're mostly of my little brother, but I know that there's a few of me that aren't Christmas that I wouldn't care to show people.
Oh,
But
there's definitely embarrassing home videos. The Christmas ones really weren't that embarrassing, mostly because we were so young at the time that it was like it's they're more just like natural, I guess you'd say.
I gotcha. I know, my mom's got one. It was a big year for my little brother Nick because he got one of those. I don't know if you remember like the old train tables with like all the wooden tracks and stuff. And
Yep.
there's like Thomas the Tank Engine and all these other different things. And he got one of those for Christmas. It was like one of the big ones, the nice ones.
Mm.
In that same year, he also got a Dora the Explorer kitchen set. It was like one of like the big with like the stove and all that. And he was like, I don't know, 3 or 4, and he was pumped. Like he saw the train set and like was like thundering down the stairs. He was like, "Oh, Twains!" Like, and then he saw the Dora thing and got all excited about that. And he hates when I bring that up because he's turning 21 in a couple months. So
I think
yeah, go ahead.
I think one of the biggest disappointments for me ever, not the gift, just the reality of growing up was I had got one because I was big into racing in cars at the time. I got one of those like pedal cart things, like push cart things.
Mm-hmm.
And I fit in it Christmas morning, but by the time the spring came around, I had hit my growth spurt. I no longer fit in it by the time I could actually use it.
Oh man,
that was a bummer.
That is a bummer. Yeah. That sucks.
It's just funny shit like that where it's like you grow up and you're like, oh, the disappointment of puberty.
Yeah, that'll happen though. I think I got a bike one year. I can't remember if that was Christmas. See, that's the problem is I can never remember if I get things for Christmas or my birthday. Christmas is always the bigger one though. Like my mom didn't spend a ton on my birthday, but I mean she was also a single mom for half of my childhood, so it was kind of hard for her to do a lot.
That's understandable.
So if you're gonna go big on one of them, you're gonna go big on Christmas. Have you and your family ever gone anywhere for Christmas?
Not in the time that I can remember. Maybe when we were really young and like our cousins were still somewhat around our ages. I think when we were talking to my mom's side of the family, still maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But it hasn't been years. Like we've always been just the four of us kind of situation.
Yeah, that's understandable. We took one trip out of state. We went to Florida one year for Christmas, and by this point I was already an adult, but like my little siblings were still at that prime age. And I gotta tell you, it's really weird having Christmas somewhere warm. You know what the weirdest thing was? It was the same temperature in Florida as it was in Massachusetts that year.
Yeah, that it's fucking Mass is weird sometimes.
Yeah. It was really bizarre, but it doesn't feel like Christmas when you're not somewhere where it's cold. I don't know. I mean, and like I say, it was the same temperature at both spots, so it's not even like it was not even like it was that cold at home, but it just didn't feel Christmassy.
I always remember like being super disappointed when like it didn't snow on Christmas, and then like I grow up now and I hate the snow, so I'm always like, didn't snow on Christmas? Good.
You see, I'm at that weird age where like I don't want to deal with the snow, but like I want the experience of White Christmas for my kids.
Yeah, I can see the difference there.
So there's a struggle in my brain with that. It's like I don't want to deal with the whole like shoveling and all that bullshit, but at the same time, like I want my kids to be able to experience the White Christmas that I had when I was a kid.
Yep. See me, I'm just a winter hating grouch, so
I understand that. I'm not huge into the cold.
Especially because like I'm dreading the year where it snows on Christmas morning and we have to drive up.
Yeah, that's understandable. Well, I mean, I guess on those years you could always, I mean, assuming the timing works out, you could always go up like the Christmas Eve or something, try to beat the storm.
We'd have to plan it out. It's one of those things where I'm just kind of like, it's going to happen someday, but actually it's actually kind of hard to say because we haven't really had a big winter in a long time.
Yeah, it has. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, because I don't even remember the last time I went sledding.
I do, but only because Xander almost got decapitated.
Oof.
It was my old elementary school has a couple big hills that we always used to go sledding on when I was a kid, and that was like when we had the day where we were like, all right, we're gonna go take Xander sledding. That was the first place that came to mind. So we went there, and apparently a few years beforehand, somebody decided to drive their truck onto the soccer field and do a bunch of donuts.
Yep.
And like tore it all up. So they had put a bunch of like little wooden fences about the height of like a guardrail.
Mm-hmm. Excuse
And
me.
he was going down, like he had some good speed going down that hill. And it was one of those weird things where the hill kind of, he was going straight and then it veered like real quick and he was heading straight to the fence and he was having a blast. He was laughing, blah, blah, blah. And like Cindy saw it a mile away and like yelled, Sander, Sander. And he like stops, he looks forward and he leans back and he just goes shoot right under it.
Yeah.
It's like real close.
Yeah, there's some of those sledding hills are pretty treacherous. Like,
yeah.
Like some of the ones I went on as a kid, I think about now, I'm like, those probably could have killed somebody.
No kidding. Yeah, there's definitely could have been some bad times. See, when I was a kid, they didn't bother with any of that fence shit.
No. Also, there was like no sense of safety whatsoever. It's like, yeah, it looks good. And then you hit a rock and you fly through the air. It was always great.
Yeah. And you know what the funny thing is, he wasn't even on the big hill. He was on the medium hill.
Yeah, that was a good time. Being a kid was different because you had no responsibilities.
Yeah.
Now you're an adult and you just think of everything.
Did you ever go out in the snow so long that like when you came back in, your hands felt like they were on fire?
Yeah, they get so cold that they're hot.
Yeah, and then you like, yeah, I don't know about you, but like whenever I'd be outside playing in the snow for a long period of time, like hours, they'd always make me take a warm shower when I came back in, and that was like torture.
Oh yeah,
it's like getting stabbed with 1,000 swords.
Yeah, I always remember that. I remember building the huge snow forts and then them collapsing because like the snow wasn't like the good kind of snow.
Yeah, I tried making an igloo once, didn't work out.
No.
So moving a little bit away from Christmas itself, since this is the last episode of the year, I was thinking maybe we could go over some of our favorite, books, movies, TV shows, animes, video games from the past year.
Yeah, we could do that. I guess we can start with games. It's kind of sad because I did not play a lot of new games this year.
Yeah, me neither. And the games I did play are all either old games or remakes of old games.
Yeah, there was a lot of remakes this year, I will say.
Yeah.
Like I think my game of the year is still the Super Mario RPG remake.
And that came out less than a month ago.
Yeah, I know. It says a lot about the games I played this year.
I don't know, for me, honestly, for video games. I've only actually beat one, like start to finish. I've only gone through one game this year. I think I did technically beat Dragon Quest IV towards the beginning of the year, but I'd started it last year. I think Dragon Quest V is the only one I've gone total beginning to end. I liked Crisis Core a lot. That was really fun, but it got repetitive after a while.
Yeah, that's the downside to Crisis Core. It's a great story, great game, just a little too much combat.
Yeah. I'm playing Final Fantasy II right now, and I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would, because every like Final Fantasy ranking that I would see would have 2 at the bottom.
Well, I mean, a lot of people,
they don't like to it, at least.
People don't like having to train your weapons.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's better than having to fucking grind to get money every time you get to a new town to get a better weapon.
True.
I'm actually like loaded in Final Fantasy II right now. I have like 200,000 gold.
I think the big game I played this year was Final Fantasy 16, and I liked it. Wasn't perfect. I still prefer turn-based RPGs, but it was the first Final Fantasy that I legitimately enjoyed in over a decade. So,
I mean, that's not a bad thing. Nothing wrong with that.
Got damn use out of my PS5. So
there you go.
Other than that, though, really not a lot. I played Persona 4 again this year. This is my first playthrough I've done where I actually got to use Ultimate Persona. So that was cool.
There you go. I've I've been on and off with Monster Hunters throughout the year, depending on who I'm hanging out with, really, and whether or not the people I'm with feel up to playing it. It was a point where I was playing online, just like working on my own character, but my wife and my son both have it. So every now and then, all three of us will get together and do some hunts. But I mean, that's one of those games that I come back to periodically anyway.
Yeah.
It's one of those never-ending games, you know?
Yeah, I get the appeal. It's just one of those games I've never been able to get into.
Yeah, it takes a lot of like there's a learning curve for sure with Monster Hunters.
They're great multitasking games where if like say you're watching something in the background, you can play Monster Hunter and not have to like focus on the plot.
Well, that's the cool thing about Monster Hunter is there really isn't a plot.
Exactly,
Like there is a quote unquote story mode, but really it's just there's a monster over here. You should go fight it.
Yeah, that's partially why I can't really get into them. It's just I can't without the heavy plot. It's just that I get bored.
That's fair, but that's part of the reason why I'm kind of in and out of it. And like when I first got into Monster Hunters, I was playing 4 Ultimate on the 3DS, and this is before I was married and had kids and stuff, so I had like nothing but time. I must have sunk 600 hours into that game easy, and I still wasn't even at the top tier.
Yeah.
Like I think I was still like one level below that, and then there's still like all the event stuff that is like doesn't really have a ranking, but is like super hard. But I mean, it took a good 100 hours really to like fully get the hang of it, like especially because there's there's a fair amount of different kinds of weapons and stuff, so like figuring out what weapon you want to go with, because once you pick a weapon, like yeah, you can fool around with some other ones, but you kind of have to stick with the one otherwise you'll spend 60 hours trying to get used to another weapon. So it's one of those games like you kind of have to commit to it, and like even Rise, the one on Switch, even that one I have over 200 hours on, and like I'm not that far. I'm not that far at all.
I tried to get into that one. Like there was a point where a bunch of guys in the podcast community were doing like Monster Hunter Rise sessions. I just could not get into it.
I must not have been around it, or it must have been a different Discord or something.
Yeah, it was its own Discord server for a while. That server doesn't exist anymore now. I think they're dispersed otherwhere, but
I tried to rally some troops early in the year on your Discord, but nobody took the bait.
Yeah. Unfortunately, our Discord's not active enough to like really get anything going, but
I made people post things most days. It's just usually kind of like not like super in depth. Like whenever I pop over to a Novel Consoles Discord, like the people who are on that one are like super active and like there every day.
Yeah, they've been around longer though, and they're a pretty tight knit community.
Yeah,
we're still the GNC server just hasn't been around that long. Well, I mean, it's been around for a while, but it hasn't been open to the public for a long time. So
yeah, I mean, you, me, and Alex have been in it for a long time.
Yeah, back when it was a testing ground.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what I would say. I did really enjoy Dragon Quest V, but it took me so long to beat that, like, and it's not even that it was bad. It's just that I think at that point I was just oversaturated on
Dragon Quest
JRPGs.
Oh, yeah, in
general, because I pretty much gone like Dragon Quest 3, 4, and 5 like consecutively.
See, that's a tough one because 3, 4, and 5 are all so good, especially
they are. I loved every single one of those games. It's just JRPGs just have that kind of a lot of the same way that Crisis Core is, where it's very repetitive.
Yeah.
And it's fine if you have like something on in the background, like if you're watching something on TV and you're just mashing A to get through the battles and stuff and grinding and all that. But Especially when it's an older game and you kind of have to do a lot of Googling to figure out what the hell you're doing.
Yeah. No.
You know?
I know that feeling.
I mean, if I had to pick a game, I guess I would say Dragon Quest V, just because that's the game I definitely spent the most time on this year.
No, that's fair.
But most of the games I've played have been games I've played before. So
yeah, honestly, I played more 3DO games this year than anything. At the time of this video, 3DO should be back. Hopefully.
It should be, I think, right?
We're supposed to record the next episode next week. Well, at the time of this recording, we'll be recording the comeback next week. So,
okay, so it might be coming out shortly after this one, then, depending.
No, it'll definitely be before this because I believe it'll be coming out the day after we record it. So,
oh, okay, well, fair enough.
Yeah, so we're gonna be doing another horror game in December. It's gonna be great.
That's always fun. So let's see.
I guess anime next, maybe.
That's probably the one where I've stretched my wings a little bit more on, because I've watched a lot of animes that I haven't seen this year.
Yeah, the Fight Club was really a turning point for a lot of people.
It was. It really like made me realize like how limited my viewership of anime has been.
See, my favorite part about the Fight Club, looking back at it, was there was not a lot of crossover between all 5 of our lists, 6 of our lists.
I think.
Yeah, 6 of our lists.
I think the biggest ones were JoJo and
Attack on Titan.
Yeah, Attack on Titan. I was gonna say JoJo and Hunter x Hunter.
That's true. Yeah, because they had a couple Hunter x Hunters.
Because Hunter x Hunter was the first one that I watched after we did that episode. And I enjoyed that show a lot.
I'm honestly surprised
that more is made, but
I'm surprised you never saw that before, considering how big of a Yu Yu Hakusho fan you are.
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew it existed and I'd always heard good things about it, but like, I've always been very apprehensive about new animes.
True.
Even like my buddy had to get me drunk to get me to start Full Metal.
True.
So, and it's not even that I didn't trust it, because if out of all my friends, at least at that time, that I would take recommendations from, it was definitely him. And even then, like, he still had to get me drunk before I was like, yeah, fuck it, put it on.
Yeah, like, because I still gotta watch all of Hunter x Hunter. I've only seen the first 5 episodes at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where it's like, I'm gonna watch it, I just don't know when, because Rurouni Kenshin is my big one right now.
Yeah.
And then I gotta watch Attack on Titan. I really need to force myself to sit down and watch that.
Once you start it, it won't be a force, trust me.
I know, it's more just like I have so many other shows, like, because I'm watching Jujutsu Kaisen right now. I'm watching Spy Family.
Yeah. See,
eventually,
the thing is, I've watched so many this year that it's hard for me to really quantify what's ones I like the best.
Yeah, I know, because there's been so many this year.
Because I was pulling from everybody's lists from the Fight Club, and then from you and Alex's top 25 lists and stuff like that. I mean, I watched Chainsaw Man this year.
Chainsaw Man was a surprise. Like, I did not expect to like that as much as I did.
For real. I watched Death Parade this year, which I liked a lot.
Yeah, Alex has been flying the torch for Death Parade for like 4 years now, and he finally got me to watch it, and I guess it got you to watch it as well, because that's a fun one, especially because it's a self-contained 12 episodes and it's very easy to watch.
It is, and it's almost episodic, but there is like a plot that's strung together throughout.
The fucking reveal at the end is fucking heartbreaking. I still say to this day.
Extremely. And like, also, like, it's just something about like the mystery of it all, because there's so many unanswered questions, but like, you don't feel unsatisfied by the end.
Oh yeah, the ending is incredibly satisfying. The mood whiplash between episodes though is crazy. Like the first episode really draws you in with like the couple that like cheated on each other, but then died in the car accident.
Yeah, that was really bizarre. That was definitely a catch for sure. It hooked me in.
But then like it plays with your expectations because then the second episode has the couple that like you think there's going to be some dark shit, but then at the end they're just like, can we just have one more like one day like together?
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, that's sweet, and then they both go to heaven, and you're like, oh, that's nice.
yeah, it's really interesting. Like I feel like I could have a whole episode just talking about that show, just
You know,
because like there's so many aspects to it that I'd like to know more about, but like I'm also totally cool with it just staying as it is.
it's also it's anime only. There's no manga attached to that, so it's like a very self-contained, like it is what it is kind of thing.
That's one I really want to show my wife because I know she'll like that one a lot.
You know what throws me off every watching it now though? Ever since I noticed it,
What's that?
The main character, he's voiced by the same guy that plays Lloyd in Spy Family.
Really?
Once you hear it, you'll never unhear it.
That makes sense. That's another one I watched this year that I really, really enjoyed with Spy Family.
Spy Family season 2 has been so enjoyable. I'm looking so forward to the movie.
We caught up last Saturday. They were still on the boat, but
I gotta watch that because like I know the dub's up to like episode 7, I think maybe. I gotta sit down and just watch like blast through them pretty soon.
well, see, it's hard for me to like. I'd have to actually go on Crunchyroll and count out the episodes because they list it as like episode 26 onward.
Yeah, I know it's because it's technically all they use the numbering.
Yeah.
Spy Family is just such a weird show to me because it's like the plot is so ridiculous, especially when you find out that the author wrote it literally as like he wrote it during a case of like writer's block.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the author for Spy Family infamously like he was infamous in the manga community for like every one of his books would get canceled before like after like a few issues in because they just weren't selling.
Yeah.
And he wrote Spy Family out of like frustration and like writer's block, and it ended up being the one that fucking blew up.
Which just figures. I think that's just one of those things that goes to show is like if you're a creative, it's best to just kind of let it flow and not try to force a story.
Mm.
And that's not the case for everybody, but a lot of times that tends to be the case.
Yeah, I'm surprised how much that's picked up in the States too, because like apparently it's fairly big in Japan, but apparently it's massive in America.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me because it's got that kind of like Western feel to it.
Mm. Yeah, especially the setting is super confusing to me though when it takes place. It's apparently in the mid 80s. Apparently,
it doesn't look that way at all.
It's like 70s.
It looks like it's supposed to be like the 30s.
Well, that completely got thrown out of the window when the cruise ship shows up because that cruise ship is. I say this as a ship nerd because I know a lot of these things, but the cruise ship that they go on is very clearly the Queen Elizabeth II. Mm-hmm. And the Queen Elizabeth II was made in the 60s and was mostly well known for her time in the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think her design in the show that they're basing it off of is from the 80s. So
I gotcha.
It's unclear though, because but see, the thing is like, there's points where it feels like the 30s, but then you see like the fashion senses and it's like, now it feels like the mid 80s, like all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's wild. But I mean, I don't know. It's just something about the vibe of the show that I just love.
Because it's got that weird like World War like setting. Like it's got it's kind of like Full Metal. It's got like that kind of German setting.
Although I guess 60s would make sense because it feels like it's a very Cold War.
Yeah, kind of like 60s, 70s ish.
Yeah, like with the very like, oh, you better watch out or you'll get reported for being a communist, you know, like I don't know. I feel like 60s would make the most sense.
Yeah. It's so the characters are just so likable too. Like that's like the big key to it. Like
oh, for sure.
And they're all super unique too. Like I'm just thinking of like the episode, one of the more recent episodes where like the side character Frankie's trying to find a cat to impress a girl.
Yeah.
and Yor decides to help. And
Yeah, I
like
love that
there's
one.
an entire scene where like yours just like covered in cats and like spinning around in the background. And I'm just like this. Yor is like a master assassin, but she's also a complete ditz at the same time, which makes it great.
I know. I don't know. It's just something about the characters just works so well with that show. They just meld together so well.
Mm.
How like they each have like kind of their own thing. And I love like the like mystery, not mystery, but like it's a mystery to each other because none of them know about each other's secret lives.
Well, Anya knows everything. That's the
Yes.
best part about
Which
it.
makes it even better. Like
My favorite part is though, like you know that at some point they're gonna find out, and you just wonder what's gonna happen then.
yeah. Well, I mean I feel like it's pretty obvious that it's going to end with them just kind of the way I see it, it's going to end one of two ways, or we'll say one of three ways. Either they're all going to find out and it's going to be a happy ending, you know, them deciding to be a family, or none of them find out and they still decide to be a family, or I lost the third one. Well, maybe it's just two.
See, I know at some point there's gonna be a point where Lloyd has a mission to take out Thorn Princess, or you know that like
Or vice versa.
yours gonna get a hit on Twilight. You know it's gonna happen at some point.
I'm sure.
There's so many quotes in that show though that I just fucking love. Like my favorite quote ever is when they're throwing that little like fake party for Anya to get her mood up for the school, and
Mhm.
Yor gets drunk for the first time. You get the classic scene where Anya's like, "This is Daddy. He's a powerful spy, and this is Mama. She's whatever."
My wife
And
and I
Yor,
quote that one all the time.
it's just Yor's like reaction to that is great because she's like wasted. she,
Yeah.
but she immediately picks up on that one.
Um. Yeah. What was one of the other ones that I liked a lot? I like that when they were having the interview, and there was that one guy in like the school committee that was just being a total jerk, and Lloyd like smashes the
Smashes the
table.
table. He's like, "There was a
Sorry, there was a
mosquito."
mosquito. Like, I lost my shit when I watched that the first time.
Also, the good teacher, the one that's like recurring, is my favorite character in the show, Mr. Elegance.
Yes, he's the best. I love him.
I mean, there isn't really a bad character at all in that show. Like one of my favorite episodes is the one where Yor is trying to learn how to be a better cook, but they do like kind of like a bait and switch like intro where you think she just committed a murder,
Yeah,
but no, she just squeezed some tomatoes too hard.
yeah. I mean, even I even kind of find it hard to dislike Damien's little lackeys. Like,
Oh, they're fun. They're
yeah.
great.
Like you'd think that they should be annoying and that they would just be a pain in the ass, but I don't know. I find them enjoyable.
Even the fucking antagonist of the series, like Desmond. Well, we think he's the antagonist. We don't really know at this point.
We don't even
Uh,
know
e-
what the whole purpose of this thing really is.
yeah, honestly, even he's pretty fascinating from his like one appearance.
Yeah.
It's just such an interesting show, and I'm curious to see where it goes, especially because the manga so far that I've read is pretty good.
Hmm.
So
That's one of the ones I really want to collect.
I mean, now's the time because they're only up to volume 10 at the moment.
Yeah, well, I got to focus on the kids right now. We'll see what
I know.
happens after Christmas. We'll see. I was hoping I'd find like a Black Friday deal with for like the like set of like the first 8 or something, but no such
Yeah,
luck.
they haven't done that yet, like a box set yet, and a lot of them have. Like Chainsaw Man did a whole box set of the first part of the manga. So
Yeah, that came out recently. But yeah, aside from Spy Family, there's the other two slice of life shows that I watched this year, which Fruits Basket and Kaguya-sama.
if you'd
Which
like to know more about fruit baskets, we did an entire episode discussing it.
yeah, I enjoyed Fruits Baskets for what it was, but I definitely think out of the three slice of lives, that one's at the bottom. Not because it was unlikable, but because the other two, Kaguya and Spy Family, just I don't know. I think I like the humorous. Oh wait, no, four slice of life. I also watched Comey.
Right. So
Um,
you got to remember, Fruit Baskets 2 though isn't a comedy.
yeah, well, I think that's part of where it kind of loses me a little bit. Is like I like drama to a point,
Yeah,
but
Fruit Baskets is a little bit too much in the feels sometimes.
it's like constant.
Yeah,
It's like every time a new character, it's like, oh great, can't wait to see how this person's broken.
yeah, I know.
But just overall, I mean, it was a good show. I'm not trying to shit on it.
It's
I
a
prefer
classic.
if I'm watching slice of life anime, I tend to like the more upbeat stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Fruit Baskets is the thing about Fruit Baskets that makes it unique is it's very much its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing quite like it. That's I think what makes it appeal to people.
Yeah, well, I mean, that show definitely has a lot of staying power. I mean, the original anime got a ton of people into it, and then when it got revived, like just brought in a whole new crowd of people. So,
Plus the dub has so many iconic actors in it and
oh yeah,
actresses.
for sure.
When Laura Bailey actually does an anime like in like the modern era just because she liked it that much,
Mhm.
it says a lot about the quality of it.
Yeah. But yeah, Kaguya-sama, I found myself really liking that one.
That show is it's so funny because the manga takes such a weird turn later on, but that show is just like hilarious to me. Like the whole concept of like the whole like it's two people that are obviously in love with each other but are too stubborn to admit it,
Mhm.
and just the weird like back and forth they try to do to get people get to get each other to confess.
Yeah. And just I don't know, the characters are so goofy in that show. Like,
Oh yeah, like because even like the main two are great too, but even like the background characters like Chika, Yu, and Miko are all super interesting.
oh yeah. Well, with these kinds of shows, I feel like the side characters tend to be like the most interesting. Like, what's her
What was
name?
your
Hayasaka.
oh yeah, the other main character.
She's a super interesting character, but like we know nothing about her.
You'll find out more later in the manga. I won't spoil anything.
Well, hopefully the anime continues.
I hope so.
I
Like
feel like it has a big enough following at this point where it'd be kind of
I hope
foolish not
so.
to.
I mean, his other series, Oshinoko, is getting a second season. You'd hope, like, it's pretty popular.
Yeah, well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything because I don't think we're ever gonna get a second season of Bakano, but Durarara got 2 seasons, so
True. Um,
we'll
I
see.
have to I have to ask, what did you think of the Chica dance?
Oh, when
The
wait,
one outro, the outro, the like credits that's just Chica dancing, and it comes out of nowhere and it never gets referenced again.
oh yeah, it was like the weird. Yeah, I know exactly what you're. Fujiwara, right?
Yeah, where she's just dancing, and it's like got this catchy song, and then it
That was
never
so
appears.
bizarre. That was so bizarre.
That song is unnecessarily catchy though, and like I have it on my anime playlist that I play every now and then.
Oh yeah. There was a point in time after my wife and I started watching Spy Family where we would listen to that outro from the first season like constantly.
All the intros are bops too, like the love is war, love is war, love is war.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that because it's the same guy who does all the intros and he just like is so over the top that in like the best way possible.
Yeah. Trying to think so. Oh, I watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure this year.
Still haven't watched that one.
I found myself really enjoying that one. Cuz last year I had read the first 3 parts of the manga on the Viz app, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I tended to like the first 2 parts more when I was reading it. But when I watched the anime, I found myself liking 3 a ton.
See, Alex loves part 3 and 4. She especially loves part 4.
Well, part 4 is a lot less serious. Like
I think that's why Alex likes it so much.
it's a lot more upbeat, and it really plays a lot more into the side characters. But then at the same time, it does also have its really dark moments. And that show
Yeah.
is not kind to animals.
No, I saw a few episodes just watching casually while Alex had it on. It's something.
That show is so mean to dogs.
Mm.
Like I couldn't even begin to count how many dogs get killed in brutal ways in that show. It's rough. It's rough, man. But
Yeah.
overall, like it has that like high actiony, like over the top anime style, but the comedy is definitely on point. And the memes, oh man, the memes. There's so many memes.
I still love the freaking outro music for all the JoJo's. Like parts 1 and 2 had Roundabout for years. Like,
yep.
The one that had a Walk Like an Egyptian. I swear to God, every time that song comes up, I think of Alex now.
Yeah, that was part 3, and then I don't remember the name of the song from part 4. I couldn't even begin to try and. I know you'd know the song if you heard it. I can't remember what it's called.
See, one of these days I'm gonna watch JoJo's, and then we're gonna do a full-on JoJo's retrospective.
I'm totally up for that.
I'm pretty sure there's. What? I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure there's other members of the Fight Club who are also up for that eventually.
We could probably just have a whole nother Fight Club episode just about JoJo.
Probably, at least a couple people from it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know One Piece is going to be basically you, Jared, and Alex just going off while I sit in the background going, "Yep."
It's about right. Well, it'll be a nice little role reversal with you and Alex.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, eventually, we're going to do an Inuyasha retrospective at some point too. I'm waiting on Rick said he wants to join for that one, but he's got to rewatch the series. So
I also have to rewatch the series, but I would like to jump in on that. I'm trying to think what else I watched this year. Bless you.
No worries. At this point, it just happens.
Yeah, 'tis the season.
You said you liked Comey too. That's that one I love, but I'm kind of disappointed because it doesn't sound like it's getting a season 2.
That's a bummer. I don't know. Like the cast of characters in that show was so ridiculous.
The worst part about Comey right now is the fact that, unlike a lot of series, Comey didn't get an anime until pretty late into its run. Because, like, I'm pretty sure the series was already in like the 20 volume range when the anime came out. But so I mean, it's not like they have to worry about running out of material anytime soon. But I just don't think it did well enough because Netflix. But
yeah, well.
I love that series because it's so super surreal.
Oh, for real.
It is. Like it's a I love the idea of like it's a high school where everybody has a quirk.
Yeah.
And but the irony is that the main character is so average that's kind of his quirk.
Yeah. Well, I mean his special talent is that he can read the room.
Yeah. I love the episode where they're doing the maid cafe and he's in drag and his sister shows up and she just goes, "Bye," and just leaves immediately.
Doesn't he just continue to wear it after the fact?
Oh yeah. It's a running gag in the manga.
Oh jeez. Yeah,
there's an entire subplot in the manga. This is a minor spoiler, but it's not a huge one. There's an entire subplot where like his mom and sister think he's gay.
Oh really?
Yeah, and then when he finally gets with Comey, they're like, "What?" Like with her.
I mean, I kind of figured that's coming.
Oh, it's obvious from like, well, it's funny because so the anime literally ends right when it gets good, when the series gets good, but there's like a whole love triangle arc that goes on for a while, and it's like, see, the series unfortunately has kind of hit a weird like the going into the manga, it's hit kind of this weird like wall now where like they're already together, so like that plot is done. But she still is trying to get her 100 friends, so everyone's kind of like, just get on with it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, especially because the author's kind of dragging it out now, and it's like,
yeah. Well, I feel like there's only so far you can go with a slice of life. You know, it gets to a point where it's just kind of, it's like when a sitcom goes on too long. You know,
they haven't reached the anime trope of they banged yet, so that's a sign.
Yeah. Let's see. I watched Dragon Quest: The Adventures of Dai this year. I liked that one a lot. It definitely the animation was really good. The general story of it was definitely geared a little bit more towards kids. Like it wasn't like it had its serious moments and stuff, but it was definitely like, you know, that's something I would feel comfortable in, like showing to an 8-year-old. You know, it's very tame.
Yeah, it watching anime this year has made me realize how many of them just aren't meant for kids.
Oh yeah, like anyone who says that all cartoons are only for kids is a fool.
All cartoons are for kids. So there's an anime I'd like to show you. It's called Akira.
Yeah, right. Well, there's another anime that I watched this year called Parasite, which would disagree.
That's one that Alex always recommends that I really need to watch.
It's a fun show.
I've heard it's really good. I just don't have time to watch it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, luckily it's not very long. I think it's only like 24 episodes total, and then it's done. So
that's a Sentai dub too, like one of Sentai's more well-known dubs.
Oh, no kidding. Trying to think, what else have I watched this year?
How far did you get into Slime?
How many seasons are there?
2.
Then I believe I'm caught up then.
Okay. Did you watch Slime Diaries, which is like the spin-off?
No, I did not.
Okay. It's mostly just like slice of life anyways, but that's one I watched technically last year. I watched some of it this year. That I really enjoyed that one though.
So what about you? Are there any in particular from like anime swaps or anything like, or just ones that you happen to watch that you liked a lot?
From anime swaps, Alex got me to watch Dorohedoro. That was a very interesting one. It's interesting because like the anime is only 12 episodes. It's another case of like it got one season and then it's kind of just stopped, and like there's apparently a lot more manga after. I like that one a lot. It's not enough for me to collect the manga or anything, but enough that I wouldn't be upset if it got a second season. It's one of the few CGI animes that I really liked. I watched that one. Oshinoko I really liked. That's the Aka Akasaka. He's the author of Kaguya-sama. That's his second series. I like that one a lot too. That one gets very dark very fast.
Yeah.
Other than that, like Chainsaw Man was a big one. Chainsaw Man just shocked me how that's one of those ones that truly lives up to the hype.
Yeah, for sure. I was surprised how much I ended up liking that one.
Yeah, and especially because like the anime ends, like I say this a lot, but it ends right when it gets good. So I can't wait to the second season for that one.
And you know the funny thing about Chainsaw Man is I was hearing about how good it is like a year before the anime came out.
Yeah, because the manga was like super big.
Oh.
I forgot that he could see me. I was looking all pissed off and shit. Just kidding. I'm not bad.
I'm pretty sure yours is in the bedroom.
Yeah, it's upstairs. I'm not going.
All right. Sorry about that.
No worries.
We are still recording, by the way.
Oh, my bad.
Hi, Cindy.
Bill says hi.
Hi. I tried to be discreet. It's not my fault you have video evidence.
Sorry about that. So where was I?
We were saying Chainsaw Man, how good it ended up being.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, I was hearing about that for like a year before the anime even came out.
Because the manga was huge.
Oh yeah, I like I said, I've been hearing about it for a long time. So like when the anime came out, and I was hearing how good it was, I was like, all right, you know, I gotta check it out at this point. Like, but yeah, I'm trying to think. I think I might have listed all the big ones that I've watched this year.
I watched all the Ghibli films. That was probably my other big anime thing I did this year.
Oh, you watched all of them?
Yeah, well, we watched all the ones that Miyazaki directed.
Okay.
We went all the way from Nausicaa up to Wind Rises.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, it was an experience.
Fair enough.
If you'd like to learn more, we did an entire episode on it over on GNC.
All right, so if you had to pick your top for the year, what would you think it would be?
Top for the year. That's hard. I want to say Spy Family maybe because that's been like the biggest pleasant surprise. Kaguya-sama. Well, technically, I watched that last year.
Well, you can split it like best slice of life and then best battle anime, I guess.
Well, I guess typical shonen probably Chainsaw Man was the big one this year. Slice of life probably Spy Family.
Fair enough. I'd say probably the same for slice of life, although it might be tied with Kaguya. I think I like the general vibe and aesthetic of Spy Family more, but Kaguya just it's so fucking funny.
Kaguya hits the narrator alone makes that show.
Yeah. As far as like battle anime and stuff, part of me feels like I should say Chainsaw, but I think the real answer is JoJo. I think in terms of like well, first of all, there's plenty of it. So, and because each season was kind of its own soft reset with a whole new cast of characters and different powers and stuff, like I never found myself bored watching JoJo.
Yeah.
Which is saying something.
Another one for me I'd probably throw up there is Jujutsu Kaisen.
I like that one a lot. I only watched the first season and only just the one time. And I kind of whipped through it in just a couple days.
Yeah, we watched it pretty quick. It definitely stuck with me though.
Yeah, I liked the movie a lot. That was really good.
Yeah, Zero was really good. The Black Clover movie that came out this year was really good too.
I haven't checked that one out yet. The series as a whole.
It's like Naruto but with wizards. It's kind of good. It's pretty good.
Well, I heard I read somewhere at one point that it was loosely based on Harry Potter.
Sort of, maybe.
Or that it was inspired by, rather.
I'm not a big Harry Potter guy, so I don't know for sure, but it's got that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah. But yeah.
I guess going into books now and manga. I'm trying to think.
Because I know you don't read a ton of novels.
Not a lot. I have a few here and there.
I've read quite a few this year. Not as many as I think it's Burger Champ.
Oh, Burger Champ. Burger Champ's an interesting individual.
But for me at least, I've read quite a bit this year. I'm trying to hit 50 by the end of the year. I'm close. I'm sticking to shorter stuff now so I can try to hit it. But that's one of the few things I actually did keep a consistent track on. I have a little notepad on my phone here of all the books I've read this year. But if you want to go, talk about your mangas and stuff that you've read. Well,
I mean, mangas I've read, it's a little boring because it's a lot of the same. But I read all of Spy Family. I read all of Chainsaw Man.
Mm-hmm.
A big one I read this year was Sakamoto Days, which I guess to describe it in like a simple way is essentially an ex. Oh, God damn it. This is my voice. Goddamn colds. It's basically an ex hitman ends up falling in love and getting married, and his one stipulation from his wife is that he no longer can be a hitman. So he can no longer kill. That's her stipulation, or else she'll divorce him.
Mm-hmm.
So he instead retires to a humble life owning a convenience store, and the entire manga is essentially based around the wild shenanigans that happen because like hitmen are like constantly coming after him, like wanting to like either get him back into the business or take him out. And it's like he has to go out of his way to not kill them but defeat them, and it whole bunch of wacky things happen. It's a very you can tell the author was very inspired by Chainsaw Man in a lot of ways.
I gotcha.
that one's been pretty fun. Other than that, like I'm rereading Inuyasha right now, like, and Inuyasha is very interesting, like especially just seeing how different it is from the anime itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading Kaguya-sama. Kaguya-sama takes some very interesting shifts in direction as after the movie. So
Yeah,
because obviously you can't really do the love is war plot anymore once they're together, so you got to kind of adapt to that.
mm-hmm.
A whole bunch of stuff like that. I've been kind of alternating between stuff. I've been trying to expand my manga palette a bit more.
Understandable.
And not just focus on shows I've seen the animes of.
Yeah, that's fair. There's a few mangas I've read this year that don't have animes. So it's fun for me checking out some of those. Although one of them did have a movie. I read The Girl from the Other Side, which is a manga that we actually started. We got the first volume. I think we went to Anime Boston in 2017. I think it was 2018. I think it was 2018. But we got the first volume there because Cindy just picked one out at random that she thought looked interesting. And we ended up getting the whole set. And I read through all those this year. And that was an interesting story.
Yeah, sometimes you'll pick up a manga based just off of the cover. Like there's some goofy ones out there. I love browsing the shelves and you just see some stuff and you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
I picked up the Persona 4 manga recently as well. I've been meaning to read that.
Yeah. And let's see. I did read the Yu Yu Hakusho manga this year, which was cool. I read all of Hellsing. I did that for Halloween this year. Let's see. I read the Diamond Pearl Platinum manga for Pokemon Adventures. And I finished off my chronological read of Stephen King, which I had been going through for like 3 or 4 years.
Nice.
I managed to get through like 2 decades of his books in the first half of the year. I just kind of like went through all of them rapid fire because at this point it was just like I've been doing it so long that I just kind of want to get through it because I have so many other books I want to read.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But out of the ones of his that I've read this year, one of which I have already read, but I think it might be my favorite of his books is 11/22/63, which is it's a time travel story about a guy who basically finds a time portal that sends him back to the late 50s, and he ends up living there for 5 years so that he can prevent the Kennedy assassination.
Oh, nice.
It's a really interesting story, and it doesn't quite live up to the book, but there is a miniseries on Hulu starring James Franco that it is really good. But the book is just it's just great. If I could convince you to read any one Stephen King book, it would be that one for sure.
I mean, I've read The Stand a few times. That's
The Stand is a good book too.
It's long. That's the only downside to it.
And I'd say out of his doorstop novels, it's probably like, if you're looking at it like how much is this holding my attention from beginning to end, I'd say out of his like 4 or 5 doorstop novels, that one's probably the weakest. But he also wrote that when he was young, you know. Yeah. And it was a big it was a big undertaking that he took on at such a young age too. But overall, it's a great book. I like it a lot. I read one of his other doorstop novels this year, Under the Dome. That one was really good. That one kept my attention all the way through. And it's crazy too, because it's like, it takes place over less than a week. And it's so long, but there's so many different characters that it jumps to. Let's see, out of other books of his that I've read this year, Revival was really good. That was one of those ones that like, it kind of takes you through like this guy's whole life from the time that he was like 6 years old until he's like in his 60s. And it's one of those ones that like the ending is such a mind fuck that you just kind of sit there with the book when you finish it and you say, I don't know what to do after this. You know, it's one of those books that kind of makes you question everything in life.
Yeah. Yeah, that was I had that with a couple of the Ghibli films because a lot of them ended that kind of way.
Yeah, I need to watch more of those. I've only seen like 3 Ghibli films so far. One of which I've seen way too many times because it's my daughter's favorite movie.
Oh, which one's that?
Ponyo.
Oh, Ponyo's good.
No, it's a great movie. Don't get me wrong. I tend to find things that I like to find new things in it all the time, but like, you can only watch a movie 200 times.
I still
and have X amount of interest in it.
I still say to this day, The Wind Rises was the biggest pleasant surprise out of that entire series.
I have like a little Ghibli DVD collection that I haven't gone through them, but I mean, I have them. And then I also have Max that has a bunch of them on it too. So I'll get around to them eventually. I've been focusing on series this year.
Yeah. Going into other things, I've reread a couple comic arcs this year. Like I gotta read them at some point, but I went through like a Flash binge recently. Like I was reading the Mark Waid run of Wally West's tenure as the Flash. It's still probably like my favorite, one of my favorite comic runs of all time.
Yeah, I like the Flash. I never got into the comics, but I've watched like the series, like the live action series.
That's pretty good. My only dislike of it is I'm not a big Barry Allen fan.
That's fair. I mean, everyone has their own personal likes and dislikes for superheroes and stuff.
I'm on that minority that thinks Barry Allen was more interesting when he was dead.
I mean, that's fair.
Because when they brought him back, they gave him most of Wally's like attributes, and it was just kind of felt meh to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of the thing that I like about the series too. Well, not even just that series, but like that whole universe of series, like Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow and all that, is like they deviate so much from the comic stuff, but while still incorporating comic stuff. Like Batman will never exist in that universe because Arrow got all of his best villains, except for the Joker, right? Obviously. But
I mean, to me, excuse me, the best. God damn it, the best. The best CW superhero show that I've seen out of all of them this year was definitely Superman and Lois.
Oh, is that part of that same universe?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that. I always thought that just Supergirl was the representation in that show.
So Superman and Lois came out of the Crisis on Infinite Earths thing that they did.
Oh, okay.
It is the best live action rendition of Superman there has ever been, though.
See, I have way more interest in catching up with the Arrowverse than I do catching up with Marvel.
I know, it's weird.
I've always just been more of a DC guy anyway, so just automatically I tend to veer that way. But I also just like the structure of the shows.
I grew up a Superman, like we're back to comics again, I just realized, but I've always been a Superman Flash kind of guy.
Yeah, I get that.
Like I'm one of those rare people that really like Superman and like doesn't have a problem with the fact that he's invincible.
Yeah, they just did a third Goku versus Superman on Death Battle.
Did Goku win again?
You mean Superman?
Oh, did Superman win? I don't fucking know.
Superman won all 3.
Oh, did he?
Okay, I don't even know why they bother keep doing it at this point, because
I thought he won.
They said it in the first episode, like no matter what, Superman has no limits, so no matter how many Goku breaks, he's never gonna win. And they did the second one, and they were like, "Yeah, Superman's got no limits. He's always gonna win." Like
that argument's always been dumb to me too. It's like the only way. Excuse me. The only way Goku could ever beat Superman is if he used Kryptonite, but Goku would never do that because that's completely against everything Goku is.
Yeah, I'd give him a senzu bean.
I know, exactly. This is like Goku would never win that.
Yeah, he's just too much of a nice guy and a level playing field kind of dude.
And unfortunately, Superman is invincible. The thing is, though, on the flip side, though, Superman wouldn't fight Goku because this is the inherent flaw here: is Superman's not going to fight Goku because Goku's not a villain.
That depends on who you're talking to.
True, but the thing is, like,
he did cause the destruction of 7 different universes.
That is true. But in the context of what Superman believes in, as long as Goku's not destroying Metropolis, he ain't gonna bother.
True. Oh wait, 7 universes and an entire timeline.
Fair.
Because the Future Trunks thing, that wasn't just Universe 7 that Zeno destroyed. He destroyed the entire multiverse in that timeline.
Yeah. Going back though, it's still the same thing though. Superman really probably wouldn't even bother, because honestly, Goku would probably just be like, "Hey, let's fight," and Superman would be like, "No."
I think they'd have an eating contest before they actually fought,
and Superman would still win because Superman doesn't have to eat. That's like the weirdest fucking thing about. I get why they do it, but that's like one of the most one-sided ones I think they've ever done.
Yeah, they've done it 3 times.
Yeah, but people will still watch it because it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, they just want to see punchy.
Yeah.
So yeah, aside from Stephen King books, let's see. I did read I read a bunch of like classic books and stuff that I've missed over the years, like The Great Gatsby, 1984. I reread some stuff that I haven't read since high school, like Animal Farm and Lord of the Flies, Of Mice and Men.
Nice.
And those are all good. Not all of them kept my attention as much as some others, but I enjoyed those. One that I ended up finding that I enjoyed a lot was The Casual Vacancy, which it was the first novel that J.K. Rowling published after Harry Potter. And I didn't even know it existed until I happened to be walking through Savers and I saw it on the shelf. So I it was like $3, so I picked it up and gave it a shot, and I ended up liking it a lot. It reminded me a lot of like Salem's Lot or Needful Things, where it was kind of like one of those the town as a character kind of books.
Oh, okay.
It was one of those kind of small town like ensemble kind of casts. And there was no supernatural aspect to it at all, but like just the like interspersed drama throughout all the different people in the town was really interesting. And I found myself feeling a lot for a lot of the kid characters.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
So that was one that I definitely liked a lot this year. And yeah, I think overall the one that I probably liked the most this year was 11/22/63, but I feel like I can't pick that one because I've read it before. So I'd probably say Under the Dome or Revival were probably my top book for the year.
I gotta read more books, honestly.
I could definitely toss you some recommendations. I have plenty of them.
I mean, I got a shit ton of books over here that are just sitting there that I really should read at some point.
Yeah, that's fair. I was actually just talking to Cindy earlier. At some point when I have more time and at least one other person willing to do it with me, I'd like to do a like chapter by chapter like podcast review of the Witcher series. Because I was looking around on my podcast app and there's really like no coverage of that book series. Like there's like maybe 8 Witcher series or Witcher podcasts, and 6 out of the 8 are all about the show, and the other 2 never finish the series and barely update, if ever.
Yeah.
So like there's really no coverage of the books. So that's something I'd like to do at some point. I don't know if there'd be any interest in it, but I think it would be fun. It's not my favorite book series, but after playing Witcher 3 and reading the books, like there's a lot in there that I like. I definitely think it's worth talking about, and from what I understand, the show doesn't do it justice.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about a lot of these like shows that have been coming out lately. Other than that, though, I'm really not thinking of anything else really this year. Honestly, this year's been more stressful than anything.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Hopefully next year won't be as bad.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully. I mean, at this point, like I don't have a shit ton of stuff coming up, like that requires a lot of stress and running around. See, the Christmas is like the big tipping point for me every year, and once Christmas passes, it's like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, I got 6 months before I have to worry about any birthdays or anything like that. So the worst thing is Valentine's Day, and we don't even really take that really very seriously at all. So
yeah.
We'll go out to dinner. That's about it.
Yeah, other than that, though, pretty much recovered everything, honestly.
I'd say so.
I'm kind of hesitant on talking more animes just because me and Alex might have a project we're working on for the end of the year, but
I got
more on that later. But yeah, I think that wraps it just about out. I think we got at least almost 3 hours out of this one.
Yeah.
It makes up for the shorter episode we had last week.
Yeah, well, I'm actually surprised. I mean, I was a little bit worried this was going to end up being a shorter one, but it ended up working out.
No, I think we got like over an hour and a half out of the Christmas stuff alone.
Yeah, so not a bad one to end the year on.
No, not at all, and we'll definitely continue on into next year because at the time of this release, I think there's actually one more GNC episode before season 3 before we start season 4, and while season 4 is going, we'll have Geek Addicts in between.
Hell yeah!
But yeah, so looking forward to 2024. It's 2024, right? I don't even know
next
what year
year.
it is. Yeah. Looking forward to 2024. And before I lose my voice, once again, guys, thanks for joining us on Geek Addicts. You can find Geek Addicts in the GNC podcast feed on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you want to find all of our links, they're at linktree/thebarberwhogames. And if you'd like, you can join the GNC Podcast Discord server where you can talk. You can find all things gaming and collecting, Geek Addicts, the 3DO experience, or you can talk gaming, anime, or just anything, really. We're all pretty friendly there. And with that, guys, we will see you all next time in 2024.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, all that jazz.
And with that, we will see you later.